the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the Doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
And good morning. Hope you're doing well wherever you might be here on a finally Friday edition of the program. Hope everybody's okay. Join us in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room right now. Finally Friday edition, you should be feeling pretty good. Right? Yeah, let's get that done. I want to thank Family Fencing. Of course, they are sponsors of our studio here in Reiner, where absolutely nothing can be finer. Hit them up at 540-200-8294 or familyfencingnrv.com. No mess. They're locally owned. They have finance options available, and they just build better fences. No digging required. Get a free quote today, 540-200-8294, familyfencingnrv.com for those folks. And they have a logo. Let me see if I can find the logo here. Let's see here. Is that going to work? No, it's this one. No, it's that one. Here we go. Yes, I'm still playing around with the new studio mechanism here. There it is. See, there's the Family Fencing logo. There you go. Pretty good. Pretty good stuff. Coming up today on the program, Will Stewart will join us from Tech Sideline. That'll happen at 7 o'clock. Mike Ashley joins us at 7:30. And then Jen, the Gamecock Girl, she wants to talk about, I think she's going to talk about which SEC coaches are the most fun to hang around and so forth. Or which one she would like to go out and, hang around and do things with. I think she's going to talk about that kind of stuff. So we got a lot coming up today. It's been a great week number 2. It's hard to believe we're at the end of it already, as we are here at Friday. And be remiss if I didn't start out by, yesterday we found out a post that came up on the Roanoke Times website. Randy King, the longtime sports writer, passed away on Wednesday, August 20th. And Randy, as everybody knows, was quite the character. Nappy, as he was affectionately called. I called him RK. He was not a regular member. He was a weekly member of the first show back from 2001 to 2010. When BDST legal counsel Richie Davis and myself made the trek out to the Nebraska game, we got to sit pretty close to Randy up in the press box. And it was the first time I'd ever been on a road trip where Randy had been. And the guy was bigger than life, man. And he would come down and he did a great job covering the Highlanders for years. He would show up and sit right next to me where we'd broadcast, and just the stories, and just such a genuine dude. And I don't think anybody has an ill word to say about Randy King. He was just 69 years old. 69 years old. And you think about all those times, and, a lot of you, if you're watching this program, you grew up, you're a big sports fan and so forth. You remember Randy King. You saw all this stuff, all the things that came out. And the things that he encompassed, I guess the one of the most famous ones that was getting some play yesterday was the Corey Moore trophy of the interaction with Corey Moore, and he brought back Corey Moore's trophy and that whole interaction with the police and so forth. But Randy King will be missed. That's a legacy right there. The Roanoke Times had such a great stable of writers. Man, oh man, it's a shame how that's the way things have changed in that business. But he was one of those guys. I mean, you could think about that paper and how it used to just be, you couldn't wait, for the weekends to get here, especially during football season. When you had Randy. Before that, you had Bill Brill a long time ago. Beat Bill Brill. Tech fans grew not to like him. Jack Bogajic. Jack was, man, what a great writer he was. Of course, Ray Cox and Randy and Aaron McFarling. Andy Bitter was there. And I'm sure I'm leaving people out, and I don't mean to, but you get my point. We just don't seem to have that anymore. So rest in peace, Randy King. Man, oh man, it's one of those you just kind of go, wow. I hadn't seen him in a while. I don't know if he'd been battling any kind of illness, but just 69 years old. Born in West Virginia, he covered Virginia Tech, VMI, NASCAR, high school, you name it, he covered it. And he will be extraordinarily missed. He had a great career, and he left a mark, an indelible mark on sports journalism here, not only in the New River Valley but the Roanoke Valley, heck, statewide. So we'll miss you, Randy. We'll miss you. The SEC yesterday, and the answer, Big Al, is no. I've not purchased my Angel Reese's ones yet. I don't know what is going on in the WNBA. Not that I watch the WNBA. But when you think about a league that is just totally, completely, you talk about a lack of tonal self-awareness. That's the WNBA. Whew. They had the cash cow right there in their hand. They had everything they needed to finally be something of prominence with Caitlin Clark. And now they've completely just they've tried to make her feel like she's privileged. They've tried to make her feel like she's an outcast. People aren't going to the games as much. They're complaining about what they're getting paid, and they turned down a good offer. And I'm just going to say this. It'd be one thing if the WNBA was a standalone profit machine printing money, but it's just the opposite. They lose up to $40 to $50 million for the league that actually has to fund it, the NBA, every year. Even last year when they had the record-setting attendance, they lost lots of money. You're not making your investor any money. And they're saying they're not getting paid. They'll put up comparisons about what some of the NBA players are getting made. They do have a new TV deal coming in. Maybe that helps. I don't know. Maybe that'll help with the gap. But if the NBA did not consistently support and fund that league, there would be no WNBA. But none of those players seem to have a grasp of what reality is. It's such a political foray of it's just. And Angel Reese the other day said that she, quote, expected her Angel Reese ones to have the same impact as Michael Jordan's Air Jordan first release. Okay. I guess people young girls are going to go out and buy those as they watch the latest highlight reel of you missing 6 straight layups and rebounding them all and then acting like, hey, look at me, I'm a great rebounder. But that league is totally, they are just completely and utterly wasting away the greatest opportunity they've ever had, the greatest marketing opportunity they've ever had with the best women's basketball player I've ever seen, Caitlin Clark. And I don't know where all that stands. I don't even know what her mindset's going to be going forward. The league, it's crazy. It's crazy. But self-awareness is a big thing, man. Whew. And when you don't have it, you don't have it. The SEC, how about that? The SEC has finally done what many people have, us included, back when the show was still on. SEC going to 9 games. You know what's interesting? When you look at this, I thought this was interesting, and I think you might too. That ruling came out, or that announcement came out everywhere yesterday. And then it was the last story posted last night on ESPN. It was weird the way they didn't have it for a long, long time. Very strange. But they began their 9-game conference schedule next year. And we're going to get into that and what that means and why that's important. Join us on the McClellan Chiropractic Clinic live chat room. It's finally Friday. Don't forget today, too, we're going to read some of those fan question of the week answers brought to you by Ryan Pry, attorney at law. He's on 701 West Main Street in Radford in the Central Square parking lot, 540-838-2233. Or you can visit prylawoffice.com for more info. And I'm extremely excited to say that this program, by the way, is presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. And I can't wait to start having those folks on to talk about their projects, what they've got planned, their vision. I believe we're going to start out with the guy himself, the director, Jonathan Sweet. Hopefully that'll happen next week. But thank you so much, Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Tim Miller and the crew, they've been great. Very excited to have them as the presenting sponsor of the new YouTube show. And Little River Heating and Air, Charles Lee and Company, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg. I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing more stressful than having something happen to your heat and air units, which happened to me back in February. The nightmare. You always think, what happens if the heat goes out in the winter? Well, it happened. And called them up, didn't know them. Girlfriend works at the National Bank, and she said, hey, you should try these people. They're very nice. I gave them a call. Boom. They were there the next morning. At the gentleman who came out to assess it. Here's what you need. They came back and they had these options. Suggested what I need to do with the homeowners. Boom. Got that done. Picked out the units. They came in a couple days later. Came here in the morning. Put them in. Came back from work that day. It was done. No sign anybody had been there. New thermostats. House was warm. Unbelievable. You just don't get that kind of service nowadays. But thank you so much, Charles and Little River. And there you go, Ryan Pry and these questions. Most of your answers, by the way, to this why, and the question was fun. It was, why is your favorite football team your favorite football team? Whether it's NFL, college, it didn't really matter. But back to the SEC, they're going to have a 9-game schedule now, and it's something that made no sense that they didn't have it before, and we talked about it a lot, and you had all the excuses from Sankey. But now, all of a sudden, he's saying, hey, adding a 9th SEC game underscores our university's commitment to delivering the most competitive football schedule in the nation. This format protects rivalries, increases competitive balance, and paired with our requirement to play an additional power opponent, ensures SEC teams are well prepared to compete and succeed in the playoff. They're going to play without divisions still in the SEC. There's going to be 3 annual opponents. Gee, we've heard that before. You know, the ACC did such a great job selecting those 3 annual opponents. So they're going to have 3 annual opponents focused on maintaining traditional rivalries, and the remaining 6 games will rotate among the rest of the league opponents. Each team will face every other SEC program at least once every 2 years, and every opponent home and away over 4 years. That makes sense. SEC teams are still required to schedule at least one additional high-quality non-conference opponent from either the Big Ten, the Big 12, or the ACC, or Notre Dame. See, this is what I was talking about. I had some pushback on the text line, by the way. Remember when I was saying that Notre Dame was more powerful than the SEC or the Big Ten? And I had some pushback on that. This is an article written by the group who's in bed with the SEC more than anyone. Hit me up, by the way, on the text line. There it is, 540-391-0788. Let me read that sentence again. SEC teams are still required to schedule at least one additional high-quality non-conference opponent from the Big Ten, the Big 12, the ACC. That's 3 conferences, or the separate entity Notre Dame. Look, you may not want to hear it, and I'm not a Golden Domer fan at all, but I'm just telling you the way the reality of it is. And there it is in one short little paragraph. Not even a paragraph, it's just a sentence, but I digress. Or Notre Dame. So basically, they're writing that as if Notre Dame is their own conference, basically, which is what I told you. And the 3 or 4 folks who disagreed, look, everybody. Look, here's what I still love about this program more than anything else. Everybody has a right to their opinion. I'm never going to squash somebody's opinion. We just don't name call. We don't make things personal. That's where it becomes a different thing. So any disagreement is fine. I have no problem. Hit me up. It's great. That's what the whole discussion's about. I don't want anybody agreeing with what I say. Your opinion matters. It's very important. Very important. And I mean that. So it's great. If you don't agree with the statement about Notre Dame, that's perfectly fine. It's great. That's why you have debates. That's what sports is fun of. That's what's so much fun about the debates of sports. You're not getting to a bunch of political garbage, right? And it's still sports. It's great. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you have to say. So this is something that, for the ACC standpoint, a lot of the ACC ADs are saying they don't see any reason why the traditional ACC-SEC rivalries will be impacted, but future scheduled games with the SEC could be canceled. So I don't know how that sentence goes hand in hand. Jim Phillips, the ACC's commissioner, said that he's not planning to move from its 8-game conference schedule at this time, but don't you think that's the genuine next move? Because the ACC needs to do the same thing. Phillips said, and this is just head in the sand, horse and buggy thinking. I like where we are with 8 games. We'll adjust if we have to, but I think some of those traditional non-conference rivalry games that we really enjoy could go away. And that just sounds like a really, really pretty lame comment. Look, the whole landscape of this whole thing is just completely, it's been like a big bulldozer coming through and crushing the forest, totally changing the landscape. And now you're trying to sit there and defend it by talking about some traditional rivalries. Well, you kind of squashed that years ago. And this is the guy who was in charge of putting forth that first, 3-team annual schedule. This is the guy that left Miami off of Virginia Tech's schedule. But yet here he is talking about traditional non-conference games that are important. Doesn't matter about the traditional conference game. Nah. So the 26th schedule is going to release later in the fall. And it just makes sense. And obviously a lot of people on the text line, rightfully so, you're correct. It's all about money. It's all about positioning yourselves to have more power in the current playoff and what will be the expanded playoff. The SEC is playing the long game. Greg Sankey, they know. And this is going to create more revenue, more eyeballs on these games, more television dollars. But the ACC will end up going to 9 games. It's going to happen. So Virginia Tech, as Andy Bitter pointed out yesterday, when I saw his reaction, Andy was on yesterday. I wish it would have happened before Andy came on. But as Andy pointed out yesterday on Twitter, or X, here's Tech maneuvering their schedule, right? Getting rid of Old Dominion, trying to clear some space, trying to figure out how to add quality opponents. And now that space they cleared is going to be replaced in the probably not so distant future with a 9th ACC game that I'm guessing is going to be announced sooner than later. That would be my guess. We'll see. Might be wrong, but we'll see. So the SEC first to fire the shot. It makes sense. You play 12 games, 9 of those in conference. If your league, as you boast, is what everybody wants, is the end for all, and TV ratings and things like that, spell it out, then you should be playing more games against one another. The ACC is going to have to do the same. I believe my own skepticism with Jim Phillips kind of playing it down is that he understands that the landscape of his league is going to change at the next contract bump, period. That's what I believe. So he doesn't want to entertain the idea of 9 games because his league could look a little different than it does right now. And then all of a sudden saying, hey, the ACC is going to play 9 games, that may not mean nearly as much as you might think. That's the cynic in me. But from a practical standpoint, this makes perfect sense for the Southeastern Conference, and it's something that pundits have been clamoring for over the last couple of years, and now they're going to do it. This didn't just happen, though, because people have been pushing the league. This is Greg Sankey and the powers there in the conference making the first move, and I expect the other conferences maybe to look at what they're doing and to follow suit, in particular the ACC. So in other words, what I'm saying is Jim Phillips can say that they're going to stay at 8 now all he wants, but I think that's going to change. Once more intel comes out about what's going to happen with the league and the Carolinas and the Clemsons and the Florida States and whomever and how this thing's going to look, because we don't know, then I think all of a sudden you're going to see, oh, well, we're going to go to 9 games. So I don't know what the prospects are in the future, but we'll talk about that with Will Stewart a little bit here at 7 o'clock. But I think it's a good move. I think it's a good move for the league. Because you think about the SEC now, and they're going to stop doing it. They've been playing a lot, every school. I think every SEC school over the last several years has played a non-D1 or a non-D1, but a non-FBS school. And it always looks kind of weird, right? At the end of the year, like sometimes in week number 11, you'll see Alabama play Charleston Southern out of the Big South. And that's just one example, and I think they all have done it, but that's going to be eliminated, which is good. And the one thing that's good about all this, we've been saying it for how long? All of us as college football fans, back in 2001 when the show started, never understood why there wasn't more of a effort to make non-conference game schedules a little tougher. Of course, we didn't have a decent playoff system at all in place. And I think that controlled more than anything else. You think about this sport that dominates everything, and it's where all this whole money situation has come from. Think about where we've been in terms of determining the national champion. We had polls at the end of the season, the AP, and it was then the UPI. Then it became the AP and the coaches poll. But you had polls determining the national championship. You didn't have a game. You didn't have a playoff. Oh, no, God forbid we ever have a playoff. And all the lies we were fed, all the false straw man arguments we were fed about how the playoff would water down the league and the regular season wouldn't be important, blah, 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 blah. We had shared national championships. And that's the last one I can think of. Somebody let me know if I'm wrong before the BCS. Well, the BCS was 97, right? With Tennessee winning the first BCS champion. But you know what? Up until we had the extended playoff, you go back, the BCS formula doesn't look half bad. Especially that came to a head when Florida State went undefeated and they were left out because, you got the quarterback hurt. We can't let them play for a title. They don't have a quarterback. But was it Georgia Tech and Colorado in 1990? Was that the last split championship? I mean, I could look it up, but, I think that's right. Remember that? Georgia Tech and Colorado? They split. Cordell Stewart, quarterback of the Buffs, I think. Rashaan Salam, running back. So we're coming out of that. We went into the 2000s, still didn't have anything satisfactory. Then they went to the BCS. It got nothing but complaints. Then we kept hearing, ADs and coaches say that, heck, ones we had on the show. Yeah, you don't want to mess with that BCS formula. You lose early, you're done. Can't play. Can't play in the postseason. Then we went to they tweaked it, kept tweaking the formula. Then it was turned over to computers. You think about this sport that dominates everything, right? That dominates every aspect of everything in college athletics, television rights that are just going to keep going up for a while. And then all of a sudden, boom. Okay, Wayne's saying USC and LSU in 2003. So that was was that the last split title from the polls, USC and LSU? But the point is, that's all we had. And then you had the BCS. It made no sense. And the formula was clearly, we put it into the computers, but okay. I don't know about that. By the way, speaking of Wayne, thank you so much for this. Look at that. Believe. I'm still not going to, I don't want to take a drink on the air here. Hang on here. There you go. Mother's milk. So, any event, college football has kind of been in the dark ages in terms of all this stuff, and now all of a sudden they have a playoff expansion to 12. It's going to go up. It'll go up, I think, probably to 16. There'll be denials. There'll be some wrenching of the hands, but it'll go up to 16 because it's all about money. And we've said this. It was so obvious, but you had so many self-interests that were just in the way, just blatantly lying to us, to the players, to everybody. And we kept saying, think about how many billions of dollars over the years that mounted, they left on the table because they didn't have a viable playoff. If you think that March Madness, which, by the way, is going to be left alone for one more year, this will be the last year, folks. Enjoy your 2026 March Madness that's coming up. It's going to be the last year that it's not going to be expanded. It'll be expanded in 26-27. And the tournament the greatest sporting event in this country is going to be completely flawed going forward, chasing more TV dollars. Can't leave well enough alone. But as perfect as the current format of the tournament is, when they expanded to 68, and what that Final Four means, all the years that college football had these just selfish, it was just self-gratifying, whatever these whole excuses they had for no postseason, for no playoff. None of it made any sense, especially now when you see everything that's geared coming out of college football. Everything. Every part of it's geared toward maximizing television profitability. Playoff is here because of that. The expanded playoffs coming because of that. The SEC's playing 9 games because of that. Bill Roth on Wednesday night at the Blacksburg Sports Club talked about how watching these games, the kind of eyeballs you get, the money factor of that is huge, which is why teams are now going to fall over themselves to schedule a little harder. All of a sudden, losses don't matter that much. Although it's funny, Bill asked Dave Brain, who was there, would you rather beat Wofford and be 1-0, or would you rather lose to Alabama and be 0-1? Now, obviously, if you lose to Alabama and you're 0-1, you're going to get a lot more credit for that loss than you are beating Wofford. Of course, Dave Brain, being old school, raised his hand and said, I want to be 1-0. I want to beat Wofford. And everybody laughed. But we were lied to. We got all these just stupid excuses. Like, for instance, when you watch the NFL playoffs, and they've expanded for the same reasons, by the way. It's not for competitive balance. They've expanded the playoffs in the last 5 years, gradually, because guess what? It creates more revenue opportunities. Major League Baseball added an extra wild card. Why did it do that? Because they, even though the money's not nearly the same, they figured out that more postseason, baseball meant more advertising dollars. It's common sense, isn't it? But yet, for decades, we kept getting all this pushback. The two dumbest arguments I heard was the fact that it would water down the regular season. NFL is far and away the most popular sport in this country, and it always will be going forward. And every time you watch a game, you're not sitting there thinking, oh, well, with two more teams getting in each conference, this regular season game doesn't mean anything. I mean, there's only 17 chances to win enough games to make the playoffs. Same thing in college football, where you have 12 regular season games. They kept saying, well, the regular season won't mean as much. You start expanding the playoff, then what does that game on a Saturday between Alabama and Georgia mean? Did you see how I almost segued into my Barney Five? Told him the same thing I told you. Just nonsensical. Just sitting there with a straight face. People like Greg Sankey. What? What do you mean it's going to water down the regular? No, it's not. No one would think that. You're just saying that. That, and then the dumbest argument of all, especially in lieu of what we have going on right now, was well, what about the student athlete welfare? My goodness gracious, if we expand the season, then we're going to have these student athletes. They're going to miss more class, and their seasons are going to go through maybe November and December. What about the academics? Huh? Since when did that ever matter? Because, those schools that aren't FBS schools have been doing the expanded playoff, the 16-team playoff, for decades now. And I don't think I heard of coaches, I don't think I heard of parents, student athletes really complaining they didn't get their schoolwork done because they were still practicing, trying to advance through their playoffs. That was actual footage, by the way, a culmination of all the arguments into one voice. It just kind of felt like this is the way it should be. Hokey Bob says in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room, the NCAA had more profits than the Bible. Except he spells profits Profits. Oh, that's well done. Well done, Bob. That made me laugh. Good stuff. So they tried to say that student welfare was going to be affected, right? Can't extend the season. Look, what about classroom activity? What about it? And now that's not even a consideration. Because if it were still a consideration, all these just outrageous NIL deals. Did you see, by the way? Speaking of NIL deals, this is just going to give you some example. You just had the budget meetings with Whit Babcock. Brian Kelly, the head football coach at LSU, did you see what LSU, at least what they're admitting? Did you see how much money he said was given out in NIL payouts? He said it was anywhere from $18 to $20 million. I'm guessing that's probably a little bit on the low end. Of course, the best thing now about NIL is that everybody attached it to now it's legal. So from the SEC standpoint, no, we've been doing that for a long time. But they try to tell us the season would be watered down. They try to tell us that student welfare in the classroom would be affected and we just couldn't expand. When all it was an effort by the ADs and the school presidents. They got together, the commissioners of the league got together with their ADs and the presidents and said, well, this is how we're going to make sure we keep ours. We want to keep ours. We don't need to share it with others. So everything we've been told resolved around greed all these years and held the sport back in the dark ages. And Bill, I keep referencing Bill's speech. It was really dynamic. He said it so well. The problem with what's going on right now in college athletics is that we're trying to push 30 or 40 years of progress into 36 months. Because it's happening quickly because everybody sees how ridiculously ignorant everything else that was in place before was. But I thought that summed it up. Something that was in the making that needed change in an evolution for 3 to 4 decades is now all being force-fed to us in the last 2.5 years. And it doesn't taste good. The food is spoiled. You left the mayonnaise out in the sun too long. So anyway, Brian Kelly's saying, it's upwards of $20 million is what we've spent on our roster. Interesting that he would come forward and answer that question. I don't hear a lot of coaches answering that question. So you lied about the regular season being watered down. Not one fan, not one of you is looking forward to even tomorrow, week 0, which I am. And then, of course, you're going to be looking forward to next weekend, culminated by Tech in South Carolina on Sunday. No one would have thought with an expanded playoff 10, 15, 20 years ago the regular season didn't matter. And now the academic part, I don't even hear that discussed in any way, shape, or form. It is at places like Radford where I work. But a lot of these kids are going to come in. This is the way it's going to be. They're going to have help getting through this first semester. That's the key semester, right, that runs through December. This is the way business is going to be. All these places that are spending all this money, whether it's college football, college basketball, whatever. Talking about the one-and-done kids or the kids that's just looking to get a payday at their current school and they're going to bounce somewhere else. Or maybe they are NFL or NBA prospects. I don't know. Keep them eligible. Make sure you don't have any grade issues. And then they won't even go to school after the spring. After the turn of the year, heading into the spring. They don't need to. Their eligibility would be done at that point. But if schools really cared about that, then contracts would pop up. Conditions about academic achievement would be more part of the conversation, but I don't hear that. I don't hear that from any of these schools. I didn't hear Brian Kelly say we're spending $20 million on our roster, and then we made sure that in each of those deals we had a big academic accomplishment incentive. Come on, just stop. So the two things we were lied to for 20, 30 years when college football was a dinosaur that didn't match the college basketball tournament. And you think about all the money, they have to be looking back going, wow, well, look at all the money, man. But the money will run out. This is not going to be sustainable, and I don't know when that's going to happen. And I'm saying the money's going to run out because the networks, they're not just an endless flow of cash. For instance, Disney, which owns ESPN, is hemorrhaging its entertainment or movie television portion. They've had 3 massive flops from Marvel this year. The Fantastic Four. When you add in what the actual budget was and their marketing costs was like $400 million, it hasn't even made that domestically. So their entertainment, film and TV is crashing and burning. They announced a huge loss when they met with the shareholders, but yet ESPN portion's doing well, and they went out and now they've paired themselves with the NFL. They took over a lot of the NFL. They took over the entire NFL network, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they did. They took over the entire NFL network. So they're trying now to capitalize on where the advertisers are spending their money, and that's live football games. 98 out of the last year, 98. Trying to think of Bill's numbers here. I'll have to ask you about all this next week, but I'm pretty sure he said 98 of the 100 top-rated programs were live sporting events last year when you threw in streaming. And the advertisers are paying a lot of attention to that, obviously. 98 out of the 100, I believe. And most of those were NFL/college football because nobody's watching the NBA. And so advertisers now are in a position, college football is in a position of strength, which is why Greg Sankey came out yesterday and said we're going to 9 games because he knows there are going to be advertisers and networks, rights right now, going to fire away. We want you. We're going to get you. More money for their partners, their current partners. But again, with the pushback that I get from Notre Dame, people that don't believe me about Notre Dame doesn't have to worry about it. They can schedule any way they want to. And they have their own national TV network. They keep every dollar. No, their deal's not as big as, the SEC or the Big Ten. But once you start looking at the payouts per team and what they get to keep out of their deal that they have with NBC, Peacock, it becomes bigger. They don't have to share it. That's why Notre Dame's mentioned separately right there. That's why the provision is written that, yes, while the SEC is going to play 9 games, they're still going to have at least one major contest against the Big 10, Big 12, ACC, or, that other conference, Notre Dame. Best line I ever got, and I shared it with you earlier, from one of the ADs they had when we went up there and played was, our fans, our boosters, and I want to say he may have used the term shareholders, value our independence as much as we value it as an athletic department and as a working university. They value it 10 times more than we do. That's why it's never going to happen. You listen to your investors. It's science. Will Stewart, Mike Ashley, and Jen the Gamecock Girl. A little later on here in the program. Yeah, Wayne. Yeah, I'm glad you sent me that. I forgot about that. I don't. So we all love Crackle Barrel. And they've hired this woman who's an activist, and they've completely changed. Well, actually, you know what? It doesn't come from her. One of the biggest investors in Crackle Barrel is BlackRock and Vanguard. They are the richest entity in corporate America. Look up both BlackRock and Vanguard. They own Disney. They own. Anyway, they're trying to take over the world because they keep buying up companies, these companies that we use and these brands. Much of it, unfortunately, and the influence comes from a corporation that's entire existence is based on its trillions, obviously, but on its desire to change the way the world is through their own vision. So they forced this whole rebrand of Crackle Barrel. They've gotten rid of the dude who sat there. They've gotten rid of and it's gotten this enormous backlash. The stock has fallen over $500 million in the last 36 hours. And, she comes on because she's pushed to do this by the group who owns them, BlackRock, Vanguard. The brand has been enormously well received when it hasn't. And now it just says Cracker Barrel. Yellow, indistinct. They've changed the inside of the stores. They got rid of the dude. I think they tried to make some political comment about that. So now when you go to one, you're going to recognize it. I don't know if it's going to change how the food tastes or not. That place always holds a special place for me because my mom and dad loved it. And now I'm like, all this rebranding that's failed. What is it? FAFO, right? Jaguar found out. Bud Light found out. Just stop. Nobody wants that. Know who you're talking. Know who your audience is. Is it that hard? But it is when your goal is to do other things, like Disney's goal and the way they look at things. They're not worried about. They have trillions. They lose lots of money. But it's all about influence. It's all about trying to get across their own agenda. It's all about these other things that it shouldn't be. And it's the same thing with BlackRock and Vanguard. But look those two companies up and you'll see what all they own and you'll see why their influence is wielded the way it is. It's scary. It's very, very scary. Fortunately for me, my generation, we likely won't be around when all this stuff continues to build momentum. But man, oh man. Good morning, Rodney. Hit us up in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. It is game day. Yeah. Hope everybody has great time at the Foundation games tonight, wherever you might be. So yeah, Cracker Barrel's got just this bland. There's no more logo. There's no more graphics. It's just the words, because it's perfect in a way because it completely encapsulates what those companies or those corporations, those power brokers want it to be. Faceless, emotionalist, bland. We're going to tell you how you should feel. You shouldn't have any kind of distraction with what you think you like, because we are going to be your overlords. No, Wayne, the text line not sponsored by BlackRock. If they started sponsoring the text line, then all of a sudden I'd have to change the new logo that everybody likes. I'd have to remove the dog. By the way, still working on T-shirts. Got to find a partner to help. This is a startup operation. I'm just a caveman. I don't have a lot of massive capital to go out. But I've not forgotten. We're just trying to get there. Okay. By the way, if you are somewhat out there and you want to sponsor this program, hit me up. Send me a message, email. Hit me up on the text line. We got a big sponsor announcement on Monday, by the way. Excited about that. This will be finishing 2 weeks, and it'll be the second straight Monday that we've had a major sponsorship partnership announcement. I'm very excited. And that's on top of, everything else that we have going on right now. All right. So, by the way, and this is great. I want to thank everybody. There are a lot of folks in Pearisburg. I was busy yesterday at meetings at Radford, and we had our first broadcast last night on women's soccer. But my phone rings, and I didn't see it until later. And then it's Steve Ragsdale, former Giles head coach. And it's Coach Ragsdale said, "Hey, I heard somebody said you were talking about me on your show, and I'd love to come on because I would love to talk to Coach Rags." So we're gonna line up Steve Ragsdale for next week, and that's all because of you, by the way, the best audience in radio. You are. And I still say radio, even though now it sounds weird to say you're the best audience here on YouTube. But maybe I will. Now you're the best audience on YouTube. Great. Great stuff. Got a text here. We thought we fixed college football in 2012. Remember? College football playoff system became reality. Charles Steger, head of the BCS, stepped in front of a wall of TV cameras in Washington, D.C. and announced that the wait was over. So Coach Ragsdale called. I get a chance to answer the phone, and we'll call him back today. So, Coach Rags, thank you. Looking forward to that. And that's going to be a fun conversation. If you haven't had a conversation with Steve Ragsdale, you're going to enjoy that one. That's going to be fun. By the way, I'm just going to surmise a lot of this. I got a little time here before Will joins us, but most of the fan question of the week brought to you by attorney Ryan Pry, most of the answers, by the way, most of the answers had to do with uniforms, which I get. Most of them said that. Mike, for instance, said that his favorite NFL team was the Rams because of the helmets, the swoosh on the helmets. Thought they were the coolest thing. Don't like the modern version as much, but that did it for me. Made it easy. Made it very, very easy to pick a team. Wayne says, I'm a Browns fan because we moved to Cleveland in 1985. Season tickets in 85 and 86. Hey, had that season end in 86. Sorry, that was uncalled for. Wayne, I'm sorry. Kozar, Ozzie Newsome, Clay Matthews, Webster Slaughter. And then the Broncos, of course, on that very cold January afternoon, beat the Browns with the drive, the arrival of John Elway. Stanley says, I'm a Tech fan, obviously. My family was a lineage of Tech. I went to games from the time I was 3 years old on. And I'm still a Tech fan, and I support the program. So there was a lot of that. A lot of the questions they were asking me, too, about why my team. My team's weird. I get it. I picked all my teams when I was 5 years old because we didn't have professional teams here. And I've told the story. I became a UCLA fan because my family and I went out. My mom's brother, my uncle, lived out near LA, and he had season tickets. So we went out there late December, and I was a young kid. I barely even remember the trip, but I remember the game. We went to the Rose Bowl, the 76 Rose Bowl. Blown away with the 76 Rose Bowl. Undefeated Ohio State. We're sitting there in the UCLA section. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm just a kid. Blue and gold everywhere. And UCLA, John Shira was the quarterback. And UCLA beat them. Ohio State was undefeated. Two-time, back-to-back Heisman Trophy winner, Archie Griffin. And the Bruins beat them, big celebration, and that was it. And then 2 nights later, saw my first college basketball game inside Pauley Pavilion. I believe it was Denver University. I have to show you. I don't have it here with me. I have to show you I still have my program from the Rose Bowl, my ticket. I'll have to show that next week. Denver Broncos. I was watching a preseason game against the Minnesota Vikings. Got a close-up of that royal blue helmet with the D. They're going back to it some. Throwback. You had the horse, the Bronco with the snorting, the smoke coming out of the – hey, that's my team. My dad was a Steelers fan. My mom was a Cowboys fan. I wasn't going to be a Steeler or Cowboys fan. So I picked the Broncos, and they've been my team ever since, through all the Super Bowl losses, the first 4, through the 3 wins. When did I cry more? When my first child was born, or when John Mobley knocked down the 4th down pass of Brett Favre when they were trying to drive and win the game in Super Bowl 32? I'm not going to answer that question, but I want you to guess. Padres, uniforms, brown and gold, Dave Winfield. beat the Dodgers with a walk-off home run. NBC Game of the Week, Joe Garagiola, Tony Kubek. Never had seen him before. That's my team. So, yeah, Houston Rockets in the NBA. When I cared about the NBA, I don't anymore. That was because of Moses Malone from Petersburg, Virginia, the great Moses Malone, who later got a title with the Philadelphia 76ers. Never got one with the Rockets, but in 1981, he took them to the finals against the Celtics. Lost that game because the Celtics were just unbelievable. But the Rockets upset the Lakers. They kept winning, and there was Moses Malone. And I kept hearing him on, hey, Petersburg, Virginia. I'm from Virginia. I live in Virginia. That's my team. So I thank everybody for sending in. And we had, my goodness, we had a couple dozen at least. Couple dozen at least. Now, with the Broncos, I liked it because it was the blue helmet and the orange jersey, too. It just looked cool having two different things. So thanks, Brian Pry, attorney at law, for sponsoring our fan question of the week. Good stuff. And we want to thank Family Fencing for sponsoring our studio here in Ryan. Great stuff from them. They're awesome. No mess. And they were the first of the many sponsors. We have another big sponsor announcement on Monday. There you go. 540-200-8294. Give them a call. Go see them. Thanks to Mark Hunley, McClellan Chiropractic Clinic live chat. A lot of folks chiming in. And hit me up on the text line. We don't have a text line sponsor yet. So if you are a business, the text line's lighting up this morning. Hit me up, 540-391-0788. And we will have Steve Ragsdale on with us next week. We're looking forward to that. I hate I missed his call yesterday. But anyway, thanks to you. It shows you. I mean, I brought that up yesterday as a theory, and I guess somebody got a hold of Rags and said, hey, you know, he was talking about you. They showed him the segment, so we're going to have Coach Ragsdale on. And that's awesome. Reggie in the chat says, I became a Redskin fan because my cousin was friends. Oh, really? With the punter, Mike Bragg. That's cool. At Richmond. He converted me from a Viking fan. Fran Tarkington from around age 8 or 9 on. That's cool. That's cool. See, and that's what it is. You just go back. And no, I'm not from those places. And people go, how can you be from Virginia and you're just you're a Broncos fan? Well, don't you think it means a little more when you choose that team, when you don't know what the hell's going on? You stick with them. I think it kind of means a little more if you're not from there. It's easy if you're from there. Come on. It's easy. All right, coming up a little bit later on, Mike Ashley's going to join us. And I know he wants to dive pretty deeply in just tragic passing of Randy King. And I talked about it in the open of the show, 69 years old. Great writer, so much fun to be around. He was a permanent part of the show, first run of the show from 2001, 2010. And he came down, covered a lot of Radford basketball games. Man, Randy King is going to be very, very missed. Very, very missed. It's very sad, sobering, just 69 years old. And I know a lot of people were putting out, a lot of the writers that he worked with were putting out their memories as well and their condolences. And before we get into hour two and our first guest, I want to thank Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment, Jonathan Sweet and the crew presenting this program. It means the world. Thank you so much. I'm looking so forward to diving further into everything that you guys are developing. It is unbelievable what they have on the docket for Pulaski County. Being that's where I'm from, I take a lot of pride in that. It's awesome. It's awesome. What else is awesome is Tech Sideline. And the next gentleman who joins me created it many years ago in the mid-'90s when nobody was like, what is this? What the hell? Kind of like what I'm doing now. And now here we are, boom, 2025, 30 years later, and it is the predominant source for Tech football, basketball, whatever information. He's with us now. Look, it's Will Stewart. Hey, Will, good morning.
How's it going, Rick? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good.
I was just doing this like back when I started Tech Sideline. I had a lot less of this.
Yeah, but it looks great. See, you look dignified with the gray hair.
Very nicely done there, Rick.
Yeah, you look great.
So if you have no hair, what is that? Is that dignified?
You know what? If you have no hair, shave it, and it's dignified. Right? I know people, like if I end up losing all this and I'm getting there, I'm just going to, I might come out here one show and, like you see like the guys that are just shaving it with a big old hunting knife. But yeah, just get rid of it. Don't keep the comb over. That's my only advice.
So very, very sad about Randy King.
Oh,
what was Randy's nickname, Rick?
Nappy. Yeah.
Nappy and I never had a relationship. It was contentious because we were starting up. We were the internet, and he was the old guard. He was newspaper, and
yeah.
So I never got to know him. I did talk to him a few times, and although it was contentious at first, the last time I talked to him, we had a really funny conversation. He had been removed from the Virginia Tech beat for whatever reason. I think Andy Bitter had taken over for him. And I saw Randy on press row at a Radford University basketball game, working an RU basketball game.
Yeah.
And you know how the floor is there. It's so intimate, and
it is. Yeah.
On the way out, I walked right past him. I said hi, and he said, "Hey, man, how you doing?" And I said, "So how'd you wind up doing this?" And he said something. I said, "What do you think of it?" And he goes, "Well, I like it because I don't have to bleep, bleep, tweet."
Yes.
And when I heard about him passing away, I thought, oh, man, that guy would have been a phenomenal guest on the Tech Sideline podcast.
Oh,
we
yes.
never had him on. I thought about it from time to time. And Randy would be the perfect guest because he had a million stories and no filter. He would have been.
No, you would have had to have a guy on the edit machine, the beat machine. Right.
Well, actually, we did a podcast one time years ago with Jeff Holland, who was a defensive tackle from the 90s. And that was an audio-only podcast. That was before we were doing video. And Jeff and I cracked open a 12-pack of beer and sat there and talked for about 2.5 hours, and including bathroom breaks.
Well, yeah.
And that to this day is the one Tech Sideline podcast is just full of profanity. So look it up, Jeff Holland on the Tech Sideline podcast.
Very cool. Well, yeah, I'm glad you said that to hold that Randy King story. There's so many I could tell, a lot that I can't, but man, oh man, what a character in all the best ways possible.
Yeah,
every best way possible.
Yep.
All right, I want to get your take. We talked to Andy about it yesterday, and we've talked to folks this week, but I wanted to get your thoughts because you've been in tune with this whole financial thing when we had you in the studio on the radio show. I mean, you were bringing this stuff up before people were really thinking about it a whole lot. What was first of all, your assessment of Witt's performance and the reaction of the board? It felt a little surprising to me that so many people on the board were just shocked to see where Tech was,
Yeah. You and I could probably dedicate a whole show to this.
Yes, we could.
I did not go. We sent guys, so I wasn't actually in the room, but I got the gist of it. And you brought it up there at the very end when you were introducing the topic. You said, that I was kind of surprised that the Board of Visitors was kind of surprised. And it's funny, we're embedded in this sports world and we know so much about it and we understand all the forces at work. And the fact of the matter is that the BOV is not necessarily dialed into that stuff at any given moment, and so yeah, some of them were hearing that kind of stuff for the very first time, even though it's old hat to guys like me and you. I mean, I've been looking at the USA Today College Sports Finances database for, I'm not exaggerating, decades, couple of decades. So I know all about the financial information and I know it drives everything. And so, I thought the most encouraging thing to come out of that was I think John Rockovic is the rector, and he has tasked other board members with coming up for a solution, a plan of action within, I can't remember the date, Rick, but it's literally like within a couple of months. So they're actually going to move on this. It wasn't the old, let's send it to committee and think about it routine. Sounds like they're actually going to do something about it. And I have a lot more to say about that topic, but what's your next question?
Well, no, that's fine. I mean, obviously we can talk about a little bit more about the game next weekend and so forth. But I just wanted to get your take. I thought it was a little surprising how there was a lack of information,
awareness,
communication. Awareness about that. That surprised me.
Well, a couple of things. So Witt says that, he didn't say that this day, but he has maintained that he's been sounding the alarm privately, not in public BOV meetings, but he's been talking about it for years. I don't know. I see, I look at the stuff that he presents to the BOV whenever he meets with them and talks to them, how once a year or how often that is. And it's generally very short and there's not much information to it. It's very much the BOV's meeting for however long they meet. And in comes the athletic director and says, here's what's going on in athletics. Everything's great. And they go, thank you, Whit. And that's the end of it. And suddenly the guy walks into the room and it's this huge, very good presentation and says, this is what we're facing. So, of course, the BOV went, what? First I've heard of this. So anyway, I'm glad to hear there's a course of action. And the other thing I want to say about that topic is that, Whit talked about how fundraising is a really important part of what needs to happen from here on out. I got a lot of friends over there in the athletic department, but fundraising is just an area where they have just been weak in terms of hiring an entire staff of experienced athletic fundraisers, go-getters, people who can really rally the troops. And I don't want to throw around the term sleeping giant, but if you properly motivate the Virginia Tech fan base, you can definitely do a lot more in contributions than what they've been doing. It requires vocal, inspirational leadership, which has been missing.
The other thing I want to talk to you about was interesting. SEC comes out finally, going to play 9 games. And yet Jim Phillips' first response is, hey, right now, we're not doing anything. We love 8 games. I mean, just stop. It's ridiculous. You're going to 9. I think it's because he's uncertain about the way the league's going to look. It makes no sense not to play 9. And they butchered the whole original 3 annual game schedule anyway. He's talking about how he values rivalries. Yet where's Miami? They had to go back and fix that. And there was other complaints, Wake Forest. So what was your take on that? I just don't like to see that immediate pushback because it makes no sense to sit there and say, well, we're perfectly happy with playing 8 conference games. Come on.
Well, always trailing, never leading, right, Rick?
Yes, yes.
It's funny because Brett McMurphy tweets out, well, if you have 17 teams, it's literally impossible for everybody to play 9 games. So maybe they'll include the games against Notre Dame, and it's just, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, again, always following, never leading. And they've set up this model where if you're on the major networks, it's a different revenue sharing model now where the more eyeballs you have watching you, if you're a school, then the more money you're going to get paid by the league. And I think they were still thinking about that. And all the schools are scrambling thinking about that. And that's, so you talk about the SEC going to 9 games. That's not going to make it easier for the ACC to schedule good out of conference games because suddenly there's one less slot available from SEC teams.
Right.
Now, a lot of them have longstanding rivalries like Clemson and South Carolina. But so somebody said to me, something about the SEC putting demands on their schools to play a good out of conference team. And somebody said, oh, maybe Tennessee will play Virginia Tech. And I'm like, no, Tennessee's just going to schedule UVA or something like that. I'm kind of rambling, Rick. I don't know if I really answered your question.
No, you did. You did. I had someone, I wanted to ask you about this. I can't say who it was. Anyway, I know some people in the Big Ten, and I know someone up the higher athletic chain at a certain Big Ten school.
Right.
And we were just talking, trying to get him to, some people to come on the show for him too. But anyway, he was like, and by the way, I keep hearing that the SEC is going to eliminate schools from their conference when they expand it. I'm like, really? Can they do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I keep hearing that the Vanderbilts, the Mississippi States of the world better not have long-term plans to stay in that league. And I thought that was interesting because this is somebody coming from the other league that's power brokering the whole college athletics along with the SEC. And we've talked about this on the show. It seems strange, but I don't know what the process would be. But I thought that was interesting. I hadn't even thought about that, Will, for a long time, the fact that the league not even looking to expand, but maybe to eliminate. And the whole thing goes with television and who people aren't watching. You just said it. The eyeballs, and Tech does a really nice job of getting good eyeballs in ACC games. People are still watching Tech games. But they've looked at what Vanderbilt and Mississippi States of the world don't bring in, and this is going to be interesting if we see that league all of a sudden saying, yeah, we appreciate all of your assistance over the years, but you're just not adding to the bottom line anymore. Wow. That was interesting to me. Yeah.
Well, I think as a first step, you'll see an unequal revenue sharing model like what the ACC has put into place. And typically an unequal revenue sharing model is the first sign that a conference is dying.
Right, because the Big East tried that and it didn't work.
Those of us who lived through the Big East, that's the first thing they do, and that's the first sign that they're not going to last.
Right.
But when the ACC did it, I personally didn't think of this, but there was a lot of national commentary that said, oh, the ACC just laid out the blueprint for the Big Ten and the SEC to do the same. So they'll do that before they kick people out. It'll be a series of steps. And you talk about dismissing teams from schools from conferences. That is a level of cutthroat business operation that is unprecedented. That would truly be a huge step. And the only time I've ever seen anything like that done was when the Big East kicked out Temple. And they did that way back in the 90s, I believe it was, because Temple wasn't even trying. They weren't investing any money into their football program. They were just throwing a team out there on the carpeted concrete of Veterans Field and saying, have at it, guys, just to schedule the games. So that's really unusual for teams to get kicked out of conferences. And they may be talking about that and thinking about that, but I just don't see that happening anytime soon.
I don't either. That's why it surprised me. And I even questioned this individual, but he's right up there. He's in the meetings. This stuff's coming up. I said, I got a no comment when I asked, what about your league? He said, we don't talk about that.
Cough, Rutgers, cough.
We're talking about the SEC now. Okay.
Yeah, it's so Stewart, they added Maryland and they added Rutgers because back then the cable model was predominant, and they're probably regretting that now.
Well, it's funny. I asked about that, and they said that the presidents and ADs are very happy with Rutgers in particular because they can raise the rates there, that whole area, because of just where they are in the Northeast, and they count that as New York and that whole area. So they're pretty pleased with how that's turned out in terms of they figured it in the whole thing that it's paying off. It's paying off in TV dollars. At least that offer for Rutgers, even though they're not successful on the field most years. So it's weird. It's strange.
And for the rest of the league, if you just want to talk football, it's a guaranteed win for the Ohio States and Michigans of that league. Trust me, I'm not talking trash about Rutgers.
That's true.
Because we don't have a leg to stand on there. But I'm talking about the Ohio States. You go to the SEC, they add Texas and Oklahoma. Those aren't guaranteed wins for the other teams at the top of the conference. That's all about strengthening the brand of the league. But you had Rutgers, you get more money and you get some wins, and it's the same deal with Maryland.
Well, we're 9 days out from the kickoff of the season. I was at the Blacksburg Sports Club, and the vibe around the new coordinators in particular has been huge, and Jarrett Ferguson. And it gives optimism even for the people who, are the fool me once, fool me twice crowd, and I get it. But it's amazing to me hearing how everybody's just raving about these guys, and we talked about it. It's not hindsight. You and I, from the get-go, when Brent Pryde came in, we didn't understand the coordinator hires. It's like it was a total miss. It made no sense. Philosophically, it made no sense as a young coach to go that route. But now everybody's saying these guys with experience, especially Coach Montgomery, is just going to revolutionize things. And I think that, for me, is the optimistic point. I keep hearing that over and over again about these coordinators.
Yeah, and you talk to people over there, and they're impressed with the football acumen of these guys that they've added. And like you and I said last week, is it too little, too late? We'll find out. Adding the coordinators has an immediate benefit. The Jarrett Ferguson benefit that'll come over time. That's not something that's going to impact your team right away. Except he's running them more. And if you remember the first game last year against Vanderbilt, it was 130 degrees in that stadium.
Terrible.
And Kyron Drones ended up with full body cramps late in that game. He wasn't playing that great for the first month of the season or so, but it would have been nice to have him in the overtime. So maybe the way Ferguson's been running them this offseason, that'll have an immediate effect. But as far as the actual size of the players and things like that, that'll come later. But, back to the coordinators, it's just going to be interesting. Philip Montgomery's got a long history of successful offensive coordinating and developing some really good quarterbacks. Can he adapt his style to Kyron Drones' capabilities and talents? Kyron's got an OC who is now his quarterback's coach, who really knows what he's doing. So this, it's the preseason, Rick. Everybody's undefeated, and so there's cause for optimism. But we'll just see where it goes.
It's kind of an interesting question. It was strange. I had 2 questions come in on the text line, which is popping today. Can you ask Will, does he think in the long term, if something happens with Britt Pry, that one of these coordinators may have been brought in to help position for one of them to be the head coach? I don't think so, but
when you're hiring a coordinator, like Montgomery's got head coaching experience, right?
Yeah.
What school was he a head coach at? Oh, that's embarrassing. Neither one of us knows.
I don't remember. So, I don't have the Coach Montgomery coaching lineage there in front of me.
Let me open up a browser window and look that up while we continue to talk.
Yeah.
I would not say that is any sort of plan, but certainly if you're hiring an offensive coordinator and he's got some head coaching experience, it's nice to have in your back pocket. But
Tulsa. He was at Tulsa.
Thank you. Did somebody chat that in, or did you?
No, I just looked at. I thought he was just the offense coordinator at first, but it's Tulsa. Yeah, he was at Tulsa.
Yeah. So, he was coaching him when Virginia Tech played him in Frank Beamer's last game, that bowl game back then. Montgomery was their head coach. How can you forget that level nugget?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think there's a long-term solution on this staff if things go poorly for Britt Pry. Let's just cut to the chase.
Yeah.
And I think agree. As a matter of fact, sure, you put him in as the interim, but if things don't, the way to phrase it is, if things don't work out for Brent Pry throughout the course of this season, it becomes clear that there's going to need to be a change. Then there's going to be bedlam way beyond just hiring a new football coach. There's going to be lots of, and Witt believes this also, that the athletic director won't survive if the football coach doesn't survive. So I can't see with all that turmoil somebody popping up and going, hey, how about that guy Montgomery? That's the solution.
Very true. Very, very true. You excited about week 0 this weekend?
First
college football.
The big game is Farmageddon, right? Which is
that's right. That's right.
When I think Kansas State and Iowa State, I think Dublin, Ireland, man. That's where they need to be playing. No, I'm looking forward to it. I honestly, I'm thinking so much about the Virginia Tech South Carolina game that I'd kind of forgotten that college football starts. This week. Nobody played last night, right? Did I miss any games last night?
No, week 0 gets underway in Ireland with the kickoff in Ireland with the conference game, right? Kansas State and Iowa State.
Yeah, I think I can't remember. Oh, I was listening to our own podcast yesterday. I wasn't on it, so I was listening to it, and Andy said something like, "Big 12 games are fun because those teams are all kind of the same." I was like,
"Well,
all right, yeah,
okay.
Well, you're not going to tune in and see Notre Dame beating Navy 44-3 or something like that.
No,
it could be a good competitive game. So
it will be. Yeah,
dude, the off season for college football just sucks now. It's awful. So
it is. I just don't want to hear it. You hear all this terrible stuff, man.
We really need the games to start. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, listen, my friend, we appreciate you as always, and thanks for your time. By the way, many people complimenting the new set. They love the new set, the one that's behind you right now. So.
Yeah, it's very cool. We're still working on camera angles and lighting and things like that, but we're excited about it. We are going to add the ability this weekend to patch in remote guests, and guess who our first remote guest is going to be?
I think I know. I'm going to let you tell people, because we're going to talk to this person about it, I believe, today.
Provided everything works out, our first remote guest will be Jen, the Gamecock Girl.
Yep. Sure. So, that'll be great. Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, we tentatively got that scheduled for Wednesday. So as long as we get our stuff working and she's available, which I think she will be, we're gonna patch her in. It's just gonna be me hanging out on set talking to her, probably for about 15 minutes, getting her take from the South Carolina side on what to expect. Because I think Tech fans are like, "Ooh, they're ranked, and ooh, they have two really great players." But South Carolina fans are kind of looking at that thing, going, "Man, I don't know about this."
I know.
So it'll be interesting to talk to her about that and get her take on it.
Well, let's hope you catch her before the bourbon intake starts to really kind of, take place throughout the day.
So you're saying interview her before 8 a.m.?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you might want to go ahead and maybe pre-record that, play it later. I don't know.
Mad respect, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, my friend. Listen, have a great weekend.
You too, Rick. Have fun watching the games.
I will, man. There you go. That's Will Stewart joining us from Tech Sideline. Great stuff from him, as always, here on the program. Yeah, that's pretty cool. He's going to be talking to Jen, first guest. That's great. Great stuff. Good conversation right there. Had someone on the text line say that the expanding the playoff does affect academics. Okay, it might, sure, but is this going to be something that if the FCS kids have handled it all this year? I don't hear about a rapid decline of SES football players in their academics because they had an expanded playoff. I mean, you would think with more resources in place, especially in a academic tradition-rich conference like the Big Ten, they could probably figure out, how to handle the academic burden. I'm just saying, my whole point was it's a lame excuse because it's been done. They had somebody below them in a level doing it, and I think they were just kind of grasping at air, trying to come up with all these reasons to not have a playoff in place. By the way, Jen, I see Jen in the. By the way, Jen is now in our McClellan Chiropractic chat room. By the way, so you might want to talk to Jen. She's in there now. Say hello to Jen. She's getting warmed up. By the way, Jen, I just sent the invite for you. Just sent the invite for you for 8 o'clock. Okay? So, yeah, say hello. Give her a hard time about her Gamecocks. The chat room's popping. The text line really popping today. Appreciate that. Hit us up. And I mentioned, any potential sponsors. I think you want to hit up the text line. My goodness, it's exploding. Thanks to Little River Heating and Air. You see it right there below. 540-391-0788. 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg. Go see Charles Lee and the gang. He's getting ready to get colder weather than you think. Make sure your units are okay. Get them to come check them out, and hopefully you don't need a replacement. If you do, they will find several options for you to help with your budget. They are terrific. Absolutely terrific. And we want to thank Ryan Pry. Great job with the question, Ryan. It was great. Fan question of the week. I'm going to ask our next guest, by the way, to elaborate on that part of it too. We had out there, what was your favorite sports team growing up? Football. We kept it at football, NFL or college, and we had well over 24 people that sent in answers. So that was cool. So thank you so much for that. Thanks to Family Fencing. Again, familyfencingnrv.com, 540-200-8294. You want your privacy. You want your yard and your property to be taken care of. Go to Family Fencing and get that done. And can't thank, Pulaski County Sports Entertainment enough for being the presenting sponsor. We have another very important sponsorship announcement on Monday here on the program. There you go. See, this is why we have the best audience in YouTube. Wayne said, "Hey, good morning, Jimmy. How are you?" A Little River Band and Heating and Air for a cool change. That'd be great. Maybe we can get them to run a program. Maybe they could run an ad and just had Little River Brand going on. Yeah, it's good stuff. Jen will join us at 8 o'clock coming up, by the way. Hey, VT Hokey Gal. Good to see you in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. Good morning. Appreciate all the feedback. Keep it coming. It's fun. That's what's great. I love the chat room because it's right here, and I can just look down and see it. like the text line as well, man. Text line, has just been going nuts today. Had 40 messages come in. I believe he's ready. Joining us now, I believe, on the program. Although watching him, see, I have a green room. I can see when people join, they're not live yet, but it kind of looks like Roger Patterson trying to get footage of Patty, in 1967 in Bluff Creek, California, when Bigfoot was running. I got to see the same. There you see, I don't see him. Where is he? Mike Ashley. I don't see him. He's not there, but I see his room. Hey! What's going on, my friend? How are you? You look great.
Am I on?
Yes, you're on. You're live.
Okay.
No more cursing.
I'm out of the green room.
You're out of the green room. You're in the main room right now. How are you?
I'm good. I'm here in Delaware, so this is the first podcast from here in any form. So very exciting. There, look outside. Beautiful.
I like that. Look at that. You got a window. Your backdrop's better than mine. Of course, I do have my Randy Gradishar jersey. So that's
I don't have a Randy Gradishar, but here I've got the rocks I collect when I go to the beach.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
That's all from this year because my others are in storage. I can't get. Half my stuff is in storage. We live in the house has been renovated here and it's great, but it's not ours because none of our stuff is on the walls. It's like being in a bed and breakfast or something, which is kind of cool right now. And my first official guest here in the remodeled Fortress of Solitude is my longtime friend Fred Campbell, who I've known since we were both 3 years old. Met in church in Salem back when my family moved to where they are now, and the early years involved building monuments to Batman in the kindergarten area and running into the kitchen and screaming at the girls just to chase them out. And then we found out they weren't really cooking anything in there. So, there was really no point in that. And reflective of my experience with women overall for the rest of my life.
Well, we got a lot of fun stuff I want to talk to you about, Mike, but I think we need to start off with one particular topic that's very sobering, and it affected both you and I and many people here in Southwest Virginia with the announcement. Apparently it happened on Wednesday, and the Roanoke Times put it out yesterday. We've lost Randy King at the age of 69.
Native Roanoker Randy King. So he was dialed in to everything sports, maybe more so than a lot of the other writers that I grew up with there. And unlike, although I worked with Randy at Virginia Tech, my years covering over there, before that, when I was a student at Radford, Randy was actually covering Joe Davis's basketball teams. And so I got to know him there. And, I guess in a lot of ways, Randy was one of my first mentors, a guy you're watching do his job and trying to learn how to do it. And the first thing you noticed was how personable Randy was, how he had such a good relationship with the coaches. Of course, I guess he knew Joe Davis from way back since Joe had come from, Glenver High School and Ferrum and all that. So, but I remember standing in the hallway down there outside the men's basketball locker room in the Dedman Center, Dave Bissett, myself, and Randy usually there, and maybe a TV person every now and then. But those were Division II days for Radford, so we didn't get quite as much coverage. But, it was obvious to me early on, Randy was one of the best writers there at the Roanoke Times. And a lot of that I attribute to his personality. And I did promise some Randy King stories. I remember when by the time I got hired there as assistant SID, and of course, home men's basketball games were the big thing because we always got so much more coverage with radio and TV and the Roanoke Times there for home events. And I remember we didn't have any place to put the writers to write their stories at that time, so we would scramble up into the top main office suite there and find somebody's office where we could set a writer up. And
right.
They carried these huge, Randy had something I remember, it was called a newsman, and it was this big metal box, about the size of 3 bread boxes. And so it was huge. He was carrying this thing around, and then he set it down on a desk, and you open it up and has a keyboard. You attach a keyboard, and you're off to the races writing your story. And I guess it was too big to set up on press row, so Randy didn't really get to write any of his story in advance. He had to, after the game, sit down and do the whole thing there. So I remember setting him at Chuck Taylor's desk there, the athletic director's office, which was one of the first offices in that suite at that time. You walked in and Chuck's office was right there. And Chuck had this beautiful old desk with a leather top. And of course, Randy at that time smoked. And I remember walking in with some stats to hand it to him, and I saw that he burned a hole in Chuck's desk. And I was like, oh my God, we're never going to hear the end of this. What is, and then Chuck was not happy. And Chuck was always very gracious with the media and had a great relationship. But then I came to find out that Randy had actually been a renter at one of Chuck's properties there on Calhoun Street with a bunch of other guys, and was always perilously close to getting kicked out for something.
Yes.
So there was a history of Randy as a student at Radford with Chuck that I didn't know anything about at that time. So it was that was kind of funny. And then of course when I got to Virginia Tech, oh my gosh, Randy was just taking off on Jack Bogacek was actually the writer when I got over there. So Randy changed. And let me just say this. One of the things I noticed, and Rick, I think you and I are wired a lot like that. We like to see how the media works, not just being a part of it was part of us, our interest in it, and fascination and with the process and the people that do it well and how do they do it and all that. And when I got to Tech, it was a whole different thing. And I tried to bring a lot of that back with me when I came back to Radford to help our students because those guys over Tech, the students there that wrote for the Collegiate Times, well, first of all, they were putting out a paper just about every day. And so they were working elbow to elbow with the Richmond Times-Dispatch, with the Roanoke Times, the Bristol Herald Courier, all the major papers were covering Virginia Tech football and basketball. So those guys were getting so much more experience covering press conference, covering real events, game stuff than we could do at Radford. And I did some things when I got there to help change that a little bit, to help some of our guys, Marty Smith, everybody will remember. And but we've had a lot of other success stories at Radford too. Anyway, the thing I noticed and the thing people didn't think about, and I know the longtime fans that remember Bill Brill will appreciate this a little bit. Maybe not appreciate it, but it'll explain some things. Bill Brill and his attitude about Virginia Tech, which was not good. And Jack Bogacek, who had more open attitude and was okay, but Brill's thing permeated the whole media landscape there. I thought there was always a little bit, oh, here we are at Tech, we're covering a game, oh, this is terrible, why are we playing William and Mary, there was a whole attitude, and that filtered down to generations of sports writers who went on to get good jobs in the state. Now, most of them were talented enough that they sort of overcame that negative perception that came down. And when Randy came along, he was a breath of fresh air on the beat because he was so funny and happy. And one of my favorite lines was, Will already said, you talked about his nickname Nappy because of the curly hair, which I remember. And I did catch the bald guy thing early in the show. I've gone from a 4-head to a 5-head now. So, my friends always tell me it's better to turn gray than turn loose. But there's nothing I can do about that. And I was never going to do a comb over. But, I kind of, it'll still curl up in the back. So when I wear a baseball cap, I've got plausible deniability.
That's fine. Yeah.
I'm
just talking about, what I'm talking about when they try to.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, that looks great. You look great.
No, thank you. But no, I always go for the Larry Fine.
right.
I'm built more like Curly, but the Larry Fine, I can't do the Mo
I got you. I got 100%.
I can't do the Mo anymore. Anyway, where was I? I was talking about Randy on the beat, and Nappy. Yes. So there was a group of people who started covering Virginia Tech games. They were going over to Nappy Valley.
I love it. See, and I know he laughed. I can just picture his laugh. Yeah, right.
It was great. I personally, like I said, Randy was kind of a mentor because I was a student writer when I met him, and I think about him being so gracious with his time and answering questions. Not just there in the media. You tried not to be too much of a dumb butt there. You let the other guys ask questions. But then what I learned was, because I was there on campus and I had a relationship with Coach Davis, I actually knew more about what was going on than these guys did. So I could ask really insightful questions. So they thought I was much smarter than I actually was. And I always found ways to play on that the rest of my career, because I tried to be I had strange media assignments. I worked at weekly publications and things, so you had to come at things from a different angle.
Yeah.
Always, even when I was covering Virginia Tech. But Randy, I remember one of my favorite things to do, and you may remember this too. I used to, the last weekend of the college season, I used to come down to Radford. Used to end with a home game just about every year, it seemed like. On a Saturday, I could catch a Radford game, and sometimes while I was around, I could go over to Virginia Tech and check in there and get to see them play live, because I wrote about them for Blue Ribbon at the time. And but the real thing I'd like to do is come in on Thursday and Friday and go to the ODAC tournament, which Randy by that time was covering Roanoke College. And so there was Randy and I and maybe one or two other media people on press row all day, because you know how tournaments work. You got women's games, you got men's games.
You're
Randy's
just
covering
there
the women,
watching basketball, right?
Susan Dunnigan's women's team. And so it's just me and Randy all day. And boy, was that fun. I mean, anybody that's read these stories about Randy, what a guy he was, you can relate to the chance to sit there all day with Randy, just looking at the games. Yeah, we were making fun of some stuff, but you know, we were doing our jobs. And just the time I got to spend with him in those scenarios are some of my fondest memories in the business. Now, let's get on to some of the big legends. You know, Randy liked to place some money on games. I don't know that he gambled. I'm going to think he didn't gamble on games that he actually covered or anything like that. And of course, this is all different now. You know, now
it's different now, right? Right.
Yeah, everybody. But back then, you know, you didn't want anything like that getting out. Well, Randy, it all began for Randy. I think he was a student at Northside High School, and he started working at the Roanoke Times, working late night there. And of course, it was a whole different thing then in sports. You got to remember, there's no ESPN yet. There's there's no national coverage on a regular basis of anything. So if let's say you were a gambler in Roanoke and somebody had just bet on the UCLA Washington State basketball game. How did they get that score of the day of? Well, they waited till about 2 a.m. and called the Roanoke Times, which actually was still working then, because there were 3 editions of the Roanoke Times that came out. The Bulldog that went out early to Martinsville and everything. Then the second edition went to the New River Valley, which that was the deadlines I was always worried about back in my day. And then the main edition there in Roanoke, they had a really late deadline. Well, Randy was a guy late at night there with the other guys working, who would be on the phone taking the scores and getting the agate and making sure it got in, all the scores got in. So one night, the legend is Randy got a call from somebody, and they asked him, like, what's the UCLA Washington State final? And Randy gave him the score, and there was a pause on the phone, and the guy went, you know, it'd be worth $50 to you if Washington State had another point. Now, again, I've heard this from 2 sources. Only the reason I repeat it, and just to give you an idea of Randy. Of course, he was a student at the time, so you can't begrudge a guy. But apparently, he went downtown someplace, met a guy, got some money, and everybody ended up happy except the other guy betting on that.
The other guy, yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is because there was a legend later on when Pete Rose was going through all that stuff. I was trying to remember my Pete Rose Rain Delay song. We were in Atlanta when all this was going on, and Ralph Barrier and some other friends of mine were down there. We were just singing a Rain Delay song, and it was Pete Rose laid down to bet. Blah, blah, blah. The commissioner is irate. Litigate.
Yeah.
And when that was coming to a close, and Bart Giamatti stood on the steps of the courthouse holding an envelope that he said had the names of 8 known gamblers who had associated with Pete Rose. Again, a couple of sources told me Randy King's name was on that list.
Wow, what a legacy that would be. I was in Giamatti's envelope. I love that. Yeah,
now, everybody knows the Corey Moore Bronco Nagurski trophy story. Yeah, Randy not only couldn't get out of the building with the trophy to start with, he got pulled over on the road driving with the trophy seatbelted next to him. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of some really great stories. And, the thing is, when you hear these stories, you hear that Randy would drink as much as he did sometimes. Then you think about the quality of copy he produced, and you're like, oh my gosh, what a Cal Ripken Iron Man he was to do this stuff. And again, everybody loved to see Randy come around. In a way, the only other guy I could compare him to regularly is Roy Stanley. Who didn't want to talk to Roy Stanley?
Right,
you saw Roy walking up to you. So, and of course, this just means stuff to people that grew up in our area with that kind of coverage. And boy, do I miss that more than anything. When
I know.
Even in this circumstance with Randy passing, that's so hard to get a lot of good information about it. And it starts making you think about the people around. I am happy to say that a couple of months ago, Ralph Berrier and I tracked down Ray Cox and had lunch with him in Vinton. And again, knowing how your viewership here for this is, we're going to give you that number, and you need to get Ray Cox on to tell some stories.
I do.
You really
absolutely,
do. Yeah,
absolutely. Definitely need to do that. Mike Ash joining us on the program. Great memories. He was part of the show when we first got started back 2001 to about 2006, and did a great job covering the Highlanders all those years. When he'd come down to Dedmond, he was very grateful to be there. He sat beside me every game, and he loved the atmosphere. He said the athletes were great because they were just so approachable. You didn't get a lot of attitude. He loved, I thought that was, he'd been at both ends of it, but he really appreciated his time at Radford. You could sense it. And that was cool.
He really did. And he had been a student there. So he covered games in Peters Hall and went to games in Peters Hall, and then saw the Dedmond Center and saw the move up to Division I. So he had a unique appreciation for what had happened at Radford. By the way, I'd be remiss. Isn't today David Smith's birthday? I think I saw on Facebook.
Is today David Smith's birthday? Oh, we're going to have to get the birthday guy. I didn't realize it. David, happy birthday. Hall of Famer, you.
And speaking of Radford's move to Division I, and again, there's not many people around that can argue with me about these points, but I'm going to tell you right now, David Smith was the rock on which Radford Division I basketball was built. If without him, we're not even talking about that back in the day. Because just landing a player of his caliber and the way his work ethic that Coach Davis built those teams around, and David is an undersized 6'5" center going up against, right off the top of my head, Earl Jones, who was a number 2 draft pick in the NBA with the Lakers. They're actually their first pick in the draft that year. He went against, I think he went against Tito Horford back in the day too. And I know he went against Jerome Kersey, because I saw those games, and there are images of David playing I will never forget. Some of the dunks he had, and I'll tell you the one from 81-82, the year the Dedmond Center opened. That team won 19 games and was on the cusp of doing some really great things. But we played the University of District of Columbia, which had Earl Jones, 7'1", who'd come out through West Virginia and played at Spingarn High School in D.C. and was already on everybody's radar as a guy that could be in the NBA. And they had Michael Britt, a guy from down in Suffolk, who was a 6'7", well over 87 pounds, I think, but could just fly. I mean, he was the Dr. J of college basketball then. That team was so good. They went on to win the national championship that year, Division II. And their last loss before a 17-game winning streak was in the Dedmond Center to David Smith and those boys. And the image of that packed house, fans on their feet the whole game, it still may be the best game I've ever seen in the Dedmond Center. David Smith against 7'1" Earl Jones, winning the opening tip. Hoppy Taylor from Franklin County coming down, hitting the jumper, and the place just was at a fever pitch the rest of the night. It was like a 84-81 Radford win. It was just end-to-end technical fouls. Paul Hightower had his finest hour as Rowdy Red, kind of mimicking the UDC cheerleaders, and it was just one of the great. It really, if college basketball wasn't my favorite sport at the time, it was after that night, because I saw everything it could be. And so a belated thank you, David Smith, who was, again, one of the greatest to be in school at that time with David and Eric Key and Rod Cousin and some of those guys, particularly David. David and Eric actually had their own radio show, so they were way ahead of this podcast thing. And, anybody that knows David and sees him at the games knows what a great guy he is. So anyway, happy birthday, David.
Happy birthday. And I just love the name Hoppy Taylor. Hoppy, what a great name. I mean, that's going to stay with me all day.
Now everybody forgets Hoppy because he came in with Ivy Cook. another great name, Ivy Cook.
Ivy Cook and Hoppy Taylor. Wow.
Ivy was our first basketball All-American, and I compare him a little bit to Carleek Jones in terms of style of player. Although the thing about Ivy was I always thought he deferred to his teammates too much. He should have shot the ball more. And the other thing was Ivy made us track a stat that we didn't even think of tracking before he was around. Free throw percentage in the last 3-4 minutes of a game. I think it was last 4 minutes of a game, because Ivy I think it was 94% from the free throw line down the stretch of those games. He was, before Ron Shelburne, Ivy Cook was the Terminator. Ended the games.
Well, we've been having some fun. We had question of the week, and I wanted to get your take because I love your story about.
Oh, sure, you're going to make me talk about the Cowboys, aren't you?
Yes, I am, because
I am so.
Fan question of the week. I know. But this goes back to happier memories. This is why you became a fan. And we've been telling those stories. And we had well over 24 people. It was really great. A lot of it's uniform related. A lot of it's who you family, household, and college particular, if you went to school there. But what I know about Mike Ashley. He is a massive Cincinnati Reds fan. He's a massive Lakers fan. He's a massive, of course, Cowboys fan. And if you're like me, you probably started adapting all those when you were very young, right? Your favorite team.
Well, I was a late bloomer, sports-wise. I was reading the comic books, and then at 11 years old is when I caught the football bug. And, and then a lot of that had to do with my older brother. And, just different things came by. I had a 6th grade teacher, a male, who, made me more aware of football. And so, I was a late bloomer. But the thing, when you run down my teams, back then it was kind of embarrassing. Everybody went, "Oh, you're such a front runner." Well, I picked those teams because they were on TV all the time. And that's the thing about the New River Valley and Roanoke Valley. Back then, we didn't really have a local team. Now, you can call Washington our local team, but I never felt that way about them. And you don't know the dirtiest secret in the Mike Ashley archives from sports here?
Uh-oh.
I was actually a Rams fan before I was a Cowboys fan. I started with a Rams fan because for some reason I loved Roman Gabriel. I guess because I was a big kid and, get to play quarterback in the backyard and stuff like that. And I was like Roman Gabriel. I was hard to tackle at that point. Later on became much easier to tackle. Anyway, and Roman Gabriel had a terrible feud with George Allen after George Allen had left to create the Ramskins there in D.C. Right. If you remember, he had like 13 players over from the Rams.
Yes.
When they had that magical first year under Coach Allen.
Yep.
And but Roman Gabriel and he were feuding. So I pre-hated the Redskins before I liked Dallas. So
pre-hated the Redskins.
Thanksgiving 1971. I settled in to watch that was going to be my first Thanksgiving game. Cowboys, of course, hosting, and in the brand new, I think that was their 2nd or 3rd game in Texas Stadium, brand new sparkling stadium. The Rams, who I thought had the greatest uniforms until I saw the Cowboys uniforms. And then, boy, what a matchup that was. I swear, I think Bob Lilly made every single tackle that day. It was just like Bob Lilly this, Bob Lilly that.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Roger got knocked out of that game, and Craig Morton came in and finished up a 28-21 win. But the first play of the game, short kickoff, Ike Hill fielded at the 11-yard line and ran back for a touchdown. And that's the first Dallas Cowboys play I ever saw. Cowboys went on to win the rest of their games that year, march into the playoffs as at that time, the perennial underdog bridesmaid, because they could never get past Green Bay. Then they couldn't get past Cleveland. Then they lost the heartbreaker to Baltimore in the Super Bowl. And so they were the team that, next year's champions could never win it. And so getting on at that time, that just solidified my love for them. The Lakers are about Jerry West. Jerry West, I'd read about him when I was a kid, and I did love those gold uniforms and purple.
Yeah,
I just love that. And how could you, coming of age as a basketball fan, a team? Wait, they have Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain. Oh yeah, I think I like them.
See, there you go, and then you get Kareem
and finally won a championship. After all those years of losing to the Celtics, which I knew nothing about at that time. And Cincinnati, well, and this is another embarrassing thing, is that Pete Rose became my favorite player because I was not good. I was not good on the baseball diamond or even the softball diamond. I was, I always like to joke that I was in slow pitch softball. I was good field, no hit. Yeah. But Pete Rose was so scrappy. You could see just in his style of play how much he made himself into a player. And the whole key to the Big Red Machine was Pete Rose not being embarrassed to go over and, botch it up a little bit at third base because he knew it made the team better because George Foster's bat got in the lineup. And, man, don't you wish you read more stories like that now about guys who didn't care about how they look, just make our team win. This is what we have to do, and I'll do it. I know. So, yeah, Pete Rose was my guy back then until I read more about him and his family life. And then later on, Pete, it's so sad now to think if you just fessed up, this whole thing would have blown over and you'd be in the hall. You would have been there to be in the Hall of Fame.
Right. He would have been there to accept it and enjoy the day.
There's lessons there, kids. Own up to your mistakes and to get them behind you and go and do better.
100%. 100%. Well, I think it's great. It's great to get those memories for people. It just is to hear about it because we all did it. Mine's been since I was 5 and all that. It just stays with you, man. It just stays, and it means so much.
For those Padres in those uniforms.
That's why. It was the whole thing. Mustard
they always
brown.
Looked like they were short order cooks at Hardee's or something. It
was the taco hat. It was a taco hat, right? You had the gold.
I think about you all the time now because there's a lot of Padre highlights on ESPN now because they're in the thick of things. And that series with the Dodgers a week or so ago was just absolutely riveting in a lot of ways.
Not if you're a Padres fan.
Well, right. But just to be in the hunt. And that's where I am now with some of my teams. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see skinny Luka play this year.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys, I've kind of, well, all right. I wrote down this number. Everybody gets on the Cowboys. They can't win. Well, the Cowboys franchise is worth $12.88 billion. And that's the next one is the Rams at 10.43. That's pretty significant difference. So as far as that goes, I guess Jerry is winning, but it's not trickling down, Jerry. The rest of us are not very happy what's going on. You don't seem to treat your guys well. And, you went cost cutter on the coaching staff this year, which could work out. I think Shoddy's going to be okay. But, oh, my God, Jerry, stop putting me through a ringer here in the offseason. It's just terrible. Good God. The Eagles are like – there was a great feature. I heard Colin Cowherd talking about how the Eagles are the new Cowboys. If you remember what Jerry Jones was doing when they got good – he went out and got Deion Sanders. He went out and got whoever they needed to win a championship. Now we're arguing with a generational defensive talent that we won't pay him, comparable to the rest of the things. And I don't even know what all the stuff is in it. And then to hear that Jerry kind of enjoys it, that this drama is something he thrives on. And I'm like, well, I don't. I've got, Tums in my top desk drawer because of you, Jerry. Stop it.
Hey. My dad said something a long time ago, and boy, it's so true now when you get older. The fish rots from the head, right? If you got bad ownership, bad leadership, you got people at the top that don't get what they're supposed to be doing, man. Everything else is dragged down, and that's what's happening with the Cowboys. Right?
Well, one of the advantages you and I have versus other people in the media is we've covered at all levels. That trickles down, and it goes back to things we were talking about last week, about Coach Hicks and Coach Lindeberg, and in my case, Coach Joyce and Coach Willis White. You see guys like that take over a program, and you see what they can do after years of just, not much going on. You realize it is a lot about, it's all about the leadership in those programs. And that holds true in college as well, when you see guys turn things around. And obviously NFL. The NFL is a little bit different, though, because they have done everything they can to level the playing field. And to me, a lot of what the Cowboys' problem is exactly Jerry Jones not operating the same way everybody else operates. He doesn't seem to recognize his stuff. It's been 30 years, Jerry. It's not working. You need to do something else. Get a general manager. Build your roster differently. It's just not, and it's very frustrating. So yeah, I'm not very excited right now about that season. Yeah. And
I understand.
And since all I hear about is how much college players are making now, I'm not as excited about that anymore either. But
I know it affects things. It does 100%.
Hey, tickets to college games are $11. So
I know. We had Coach Steinspring on yesterday. He's great. He was so great. He was awesome.
He is great. Fun. I really like him. People forget he was offensive coordinator at Maryland there for a brief thing, and I felt a kinship. They asked me if I wanted to do a story on him. I said, yeah, he's from out of my neck of the woods. I want to do this story. I want to talk. Yeah. I want to get close with Steiny. And
he's great. Steiny's great.
Is. Yeah.
So are you, my friend, as always. I hope you have a great weekend in Delaware. Enjoy week 0 tomorrow, right? As college football is here tomorrow.
Well, it's a sunny day, so I think I'll have toes in the sand if I can.
You will.
If the water doesn't come in and take me away. Calgon, take me away, right? The waves
Make sure you wear the shower cap, please, if that happens. Get a shot.
I used to be one of the great body surfers of my generation, and my nickname in Myrtle Beach was Riptide. So you can look it up. All right.
Wasn't that an 80s action show? Wasn't that an 80s action show, Riptide, too?
Should have been.
All right. Take care, my carnival barker, you.
All right. Hey, Goober says hey. Everybody, great talking.
Bye-bye. Hey to Goober. There you go. That's the great Mike Ashley. Hey to Goober. Great stuff. From Mike. Great memories there, Randy King. Hit us up, by the way, in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. A lot of folks in there today. Three Rings Football says, my NFL team is the Packers because first football game I remember watching was the Ice Ball. Hey, there you go. Against the Cowboys. He was 8 years old. Now, of course, Packers owner, right? Fans are owners. And a Cowboys hater. There you go. David Smith, happy birthday. My brother from another mother. Like, literally. It's crazy. By the way, David and I have some cool stuff planned for you coming up. We got to have a separate thing from this. It's happening. It's going to happen very soon. Very soon. Randy King, great guy along with Ray Cox. Yeah, great dudes. Great dudes. And I appreciate both, by the way. Randy and Ray came down and covered Radford basketball with enthusiasm. It was great. It was great having them there, sitting beside both of those guys on press row. It was awesome. You could look over during a break and you could just talk to them. They'd hand me notes on their own, which was what was great. Each of them, they'd be keeping track of certain stats. And, I guess they're sitting there and they're probably getting some of the broadcasts. And they would just all of a sudden I'd see a note land on my board, my mixing board. Oh, cool. This is, I didn't think about that. Oh, I didn't have that. I would just give credit where it was due. Made it so much fun, man. Simpler times. Jen, the Gamecock Girl, coming up. She's going to be our final guest here on this finally Friday edition. Can't say enough how much I appreciate the support as we're here in week number 2, getting ready to hit into the last half hour. But I need you. I need you all because we have to have subscribers on a live show here like this on YouTube. It's a little different the way they go about it than if you're just uploading recorded videos. They don't care about that. But when you're doing something like this, they pay attention, and that's up to you. I need you to spread the word. Remind people it's free. I think people see subscribe, and they're like, wait a minute. He's charging somebody already? No, it's free. Subscribe just means that you'll get like a little 5-second notice if you have YouTube on your phone that the next show's coming up or the show just went live. That's all. And it can remind you to go and you can watch other shows. Go back and watch the older shows. You can fast forward to the parts you want, which is great. Please like the videos. Any time that you spend on there helps the algorithm. So please jump in there and support. You already have. You've been wonderful. But we need to get more subscribers up, and I need that. A lot of that's word of mouth. Like when a movie does well at the theater, it's because of word of mouth a lot of times, right? But can't say enough for the support we've gotten here 2 weeks. It's been overwhelming, especially so far the support of the local corporate folks like Family Fencing Studios who are sponsoring our studio right now here on this Friday morning. They have a no-dig installation system. They build strong fences, no mess, no damage, locally owned. They use vinyl, they use aluminum, they use wood, you name it. Residential, commercial, agricultural fencing, every aspect of it they have covered. They have finance options available, free quotes. Just call them. Won't hurt you at all. Tell them you heard us talking about it. 540-200-8294, familyfencingnrv.com. And we appreciate them so much. McClellan Chiropractic. We appreciate Mark Hunley and his gang for our chat room, which has been popping all week. Great to have so many people in there. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate your support. And, of course, this past Monday, we announced major partnership with Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Thank you so much, Jonathan Sweet, Tim, the whole gang. Looking forward to meeting more of those folks and talking about their initiatives. But this show is presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. I grew up there. It means a lot to me. It's very special. And that's the one theme that we have that will continue Monday when we have a major new sponsorship announcement. Things that I utilize, things that mean something because I can vouch for them. That's truth. Like these folks, Charles Lee and Little River Heating and Air. I can't say enough about them. I know we have a lot of great folks out there that are, in the business of taking care of homes. But my personal interaction with Charles was unbelievable. I was stressed out of my mind when my heat units went down back in February. Now, me and my son were here, and we're wearing blankets, we're wearing big coats, we're wearing gloves. I mean, it was chilly. We just had to wait, and they came and assessed it. We didn't have to wait long, and they got it fixed. And they work with your budget. They're not saying, well, you have to take this $97,000 unit or units, and it's not going to work. No, they're not like that. Thank you so much to all of you. And to Ryan Pryor, fan question of the week. We'll have another one next week as well. It's a lot of fun. Todd Joy says, Dad was a Redskins fan, so I became one. I get it. We're waiting on Jen, the Gamecock Girl, to join us here, and she will be on here in just a second. I believe she's got a new microphone she wants to show off, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think so. She has not entered the green room yet. Shocker. Jen being fashionably late. But good stuff from all of our sponsors. We'll have another question for you next week. A few people have asked, they heard me talking about I'm writing a weekly piece for the Patriot. I'm guessing it's out. I haven't seen it. I haven't really looked at it. I haven't looked for it. I think it's out, either online or in the hard copy of the paper. But let me know what you think. I mean, I'll develop that column through your suggestions. Never proclaimed myself to be a writer, but the first one was a kind of a passion project. So when you read it, we're calling it Big Dog Barks is what it is, each and every week. So I appreciate Mike Williams for that opportunity. Okay, thank you, Rodney. Paper's out this morning, so it'll be there. It'll be there this morning. Thank you, Rodney. So there you go. Yeah, I need a timeline on that. I'm never quite sure. I'm new to this. Hey, I'm new to the whole newsprint game. Jen says she's in the room, but she's not. I do not see her. Let me invite you again, Jen, because you're not there. Jen is not there. She says she's in the room, but she's not. Jen, I'm going to send you a new invite here. I think we have some issues on that other end of things. So Jen, try the new get out of where you are now and come back through that one. I do not see her. So don't know what's happening there. But we're having some technical snafus with Jen here. So don't know. Those links don't last very long. I sent it probably too early, so that link probably didn't work. You have to send them about 10 minutes before the person's going to come on. So that's probably what happened there, Jennifer. So try that one. Try that one and see if that one works. But we haven't had a problem with guests so far joining the link. But not really sure. Anyway, I sent a new one, so join that one. Join the second one if you can get on there. But we've had a great couple of weeks, and thank you. Didn't know, and most days still don't know what the hell I'm doing in this new format, but it's going pretty well. I know I watch a lot of YouTube, and I've seen how it's done. And, she keeps saying she's there, but she's not there. I don't know what's going on. Oh, there she is. Now she's popping up. My goodness gracious. Why don't you become more difficult next time? What are you doing?
I'm so sorry. I don't know why that happened.
Jeez. You think because you're in the SEC, you can just go ahead and whatever I want to do, that's all that matters. Heck with the rest of the world.
Sorry, I don't know. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not an engineer.
By the way, can we have a little talk here?
Okay, I need to turn you up. Hold on a minute.
Yeah,
Let me make you
on.
louder.
You got me? Can you hear me?
I got you louder. We're good now.
You got me? So what's this I hear about you hanging out with Will next week?
Am I grounded?
Well,
That's
I mean,
kinda
I'd like to know. I think we got people here. I'd like to find out what's going on.
Well, I think you just wanted some local tie-in with the Christiansburg Gamecock touch. Man. Are you feeling cheated on?
I just kind of just happened without my being involved in conversation. That's all. We usually have these little group chats, and all of a sudden I see, boom, here you are. Yeah, I'm having a great time with Will and his game. That's all.
Well, it hasn't happened yet. We're trying to set it up. I thought you would feel special because I created this for you.
I saw that. That's what I was going to get into. So explain what this is for our peeps. When you talk about somebody who's a pro, ladies and gentlemen, now she's prepared. So what do you got there? What do you got?
Okay. So this, again, visuals, is an assessment of all the coaches of the SEC and how much fun they would be in a car road trip.
I love it.
It feels like an appropriate, fun, fluffy week 0 type of event.
It is, because we're not in the game coverage yet. We'll start having our picks. It's hard to believe we'll start having our picks next week. Wow. Crazy. All right. So you want to go from the bottom up?
Well, have you looked at the categories? Do we need to go over?
Let me see here.
Take a little look at that. Make sure you're comfortable with it, because
you've got attractiveness.
Yes.
You've got fun, storytelling.
I like you said it just like that. That's perfect.
What's the one beside it?
I got to put on my glasses. Sorry. How eager they would be to share the driving responsibilities.
Share the driving responsibilities. Must playlist.
Music
Snacks.
Snacks is important.
Intelligence. All right. So, and you've got the final grade. I think we should go from least to first.
Okay. I
think we should go from bottom up. All right. So, who is at the bottom rung of the least attractive dating option?
Well,
of SEC head football coaches.
He's not having good times right now. Mark Stoops is number 16.
Ooh, now this is big because there was a little bit of a relationship there between Jen and Coach Stoops a couple of years ago. Boy, oh boy, bad breakup, huh?
Mark Stoops, however, I don't know if you noticed this, in the attractiveness scale, he got a 3 out of 10. But he got an S, and the S indicates that he'd be kind of snuggly. Like if the car broke down, it was cold outside, he would be snuggly. And anyone who got the S designation got an automatic 10 in snacks.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. I'm not going to even get into how snacks and snuggling come into play, but I think we can all use our imaginations.
Well, you know, more snuggly people tend to like better snacks.
Okay. All right.
Do you disagree?
No, I get it. He's 16. Wow, dead last. Even though he had that going for him, he is dead last. All right. Looks like we have a tie in the next position.
We do. Brian Kelly and Eli Drinkwitz are tied up.
Missouri's head coach, Eli Drinkwitz. Yeah.
Brian has a fake accent. You know, I don't like that.
I know you don't. No, nobody does.
Eli, I think he's got some Polish roots with that last name, and still, even with that, he's 14.
7, though, on the snacks meter for Brian Kelly.
Well, he's down in LSU. He might bring some good beignets or something for the road trip. What do you think?
He got an 8 for the music playlist. Wow, I'm surprised he's this low. He got a 7 and an 8. Interesting.
Well, he got a 1 for the emotional.
Yeah, you dinged him for the accent, didn't you? Yeah,
I hate the accent so much, and even wrote accent next to the 1.
You did. Okay. All right. So 3 down as we move now to, I guess this would be number 12 technically, right? Because the 2 14s. No, where are we here?
Yeah.
Did I miss
12.
13? Yeah, we're at 12. No, you got 13. We got 13 next.
Oh, wait.
Number 13. Yeah. Because the 2 14s take up 15 and 14.
Oh, okay. Sorry. 13 is Billy Napier. Billy is real boring in his press conferences. Have you watched many of them?
Yeah, no, he's kind of bland coming across. Billy Napier, by the way, the head football coach at Florida. Yeah.
He's so boring. Like, I just don't think he would be fun at all. And he's a little bit grouchy sometimes. Not as bad as Stoops, but.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, he should be grouchy. He's a lot of pressure on. Of course, they're supposed to break through a little bit this year, so we'll see what happens.
People are optimistic about them. However, he scored very low on the fun scale and the storytelling, like you said.
The storytelling. Yeah, got to say it with an N. Just an N. All right, so who's number 12 on the most dateable SEC coaching list?
Sark came out at 12.
From the preseason number 1, huh? Steve Sarkisian doesn't get any points for having preseason number 1, huh?
No, I don't think he would share the drive because I think he's probably feeling high with his number 1 preseason ranking. Yeah. I think he'd expect me to drive him around like driving Miss Daisy. I'm not down with that.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I don't know about his emotional intelligence. He has a lot of drama with his love life. He's with the wife, off with the wife.
Well, you've done a lot of research into his personal life.
No, I already know. As a fan, I didn't research. I just know it all. Maybe that's creepy too. I don't know.
But you're down with the musical playlist for Steve.
I think he's probably fun. Now he's no longer abusing substances, but you know.
Sure. And to his credit, he did. He has been in rehab. He's worked hard, so I give him kudos for that. Yeah,
so 100%. I thought he would have some good stories about that,
100%.
but. All right. You know, maybe not the most fun stories, kind of heavy material, which is admirable.
Which is admirable, 100%.
Yeah.
All right. Number 11 of the SEC head football coaches on the dateable list.
Lebby at Mississippi State. I don't really know him very well, I have to say, but he just doesn't seem that dynamic. And I don't know how long he's going to be there. It seems like this might be his last hurrah.
Yeah. The SEC may be looking at Mississippi State as the last hurrah here coming up. But a 10 for snacks for Lebby.
Well, because he's got the Snuggly designation. He's a thick man. He probably enjoys some good food. He'll bring good stuff. Now, I was kind of torn on this because I am trying, as you know, the last few years have been devoted to a healthier lifestyle, healthier snacking.
I know.
So some of these coaches got a 10 because they would bring healthy, delicious snacks, and some got a 10 because I would just fall off the diet bandwagon and eat a whole row of the Oreos immediately from the package. So
I got you. Okay. All right, top 10 time now. Number 10 on Jen's most dateable SEC head football coaching list.
Well, Josh Heupel's next, who kind of reminds me of Bobby from King of the Hill. I don't know if anyone else has that feeling about it.
Bobby, get over here. Yeah.
He looks a lot like him, but
he really kind of does.
He is my least attractive coach.
Yeah, but he gets a 10 for snacks because of the snuggly. He's got the snuggly factor, though.
Yeah, he's real snuggly, I think.
Do you want to be snuggling with a guy you think's that unattractive?
Well, again, I felt like I shouldn't punish them entirely. They needed something to offset that.
Okay.
You know? I didn't want to have anti-snuggle bias. And again, like if it's cold and we're late in the fall season and we're road tripping to a game and the car breaks down.
It's fair. That's fair. All right, number 9 on your list.
Okay, who do I have at 9? Oh, Elko. You like Elko a lot.
I have a lot of respect for Mike Elko. He made Duke into a viable program, and he's going to do a good job. I think A&M's finally found their guy if they just give him what he needs, which they will because they have more money than just about anybody. So
he's also snuggly.
Yeah. And he's also snuggly. But he also gets a 9 for intelligence, which is very apt. That's well done because that guy is a defensive football guru. There's no question.
Agreed.
Yeah, I can see that. I thought he might be a little higher up, to be honest. Maybe if I made my SEC coaches dating list, maybe, you know. All right, number 8. Get closer to number 1. Number 8.
Number 8 is Clark Lee at Vanderbilt.
Okay. Tech's going to see Clark Lee and the Commodores week number 2, 8 o'clock at night at Lane Stadium on a Saturday.
Clark is the most handsome, in my opinion, of all the coaches.
Really?
Even better than Lane, but only because Lane is not thick Lane right now. Lane is skinny Lane. And I'm
skinny Lane. No.
So Clark is at an 8.5 on the looks. He's been up in the gym. He has a very impressive physique.
10 on the share drive meter.
I think he'd be very friendly and willing to share the responsibility of the drive.
Intelligence, because he's at Vanderbilt, right? You got to be a smart guy if you're going to lead a Vanderbilt program. I get it.
One would think.
Okay.
I don't think he'd like good snacks though, even like healthy snacks. I think he would bring the celery with the peanut butter in the middle.
That's an immediate no. I'll call you at some point. Don't bother me. Yeah.
Like if you're going to bring the healthy snacks, at least bring the good stuff, right?
Yeah, let's bring out a bag of beef jerky. Let's have some bacon in a plastic bag.
Maybe some pork rinds, low
Correct.
carb.
Yeah, don't do that. All right. So we don't really have a number 7, but we have a tie at 6 here on Jen's most dateable SEC head football coaching list.
Well, this is you're calling it dateable. There's a fine line. Like it's a road trip, maybe first date.
Oh, okay. First date.
Maybe.
I got you.
Okay. So Hugh Freeze, and I would want him to talk about his alleged activities in the firing.
What?
And hear more about that. And I hope that he would be candid about that. If not, then he's going to drop in the rankings. And then Kirby Smart, who also talking about what these guys, their doppelganger. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Who someone looks like. His might be Dr. Pepperman with a visor.
Yeah, it would be.
So, he's a 6 on looks, but could be, a national champion, could be fun to talk to, hang out with, probably laid back.
He gets a 10 in storytelling. Kirby gets a 10 in music playlist and a 10 in intelligence, yet this list is tough. He's just tied for 6 with 3 10s. Wow. Woo.
Competitive field.
You're a tough nut to crack, lady.
Judge Jablonski has her limits with some of this.
All right, since we had the 2 6s, now we're into the top 4, if I'm not mistaken. And you have another tie here for 4th as we get closer to the top 3. What are we looking at here?
Well, Alabama's DeBoer and Oklahoma, Brent Venables.
Yeah, okay.
Brent's pretty cute. He's a 7.
Yeah, okay.
They're both 7s.
A lot of 8s for Brent, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
DeBoer gets a 10 in intelligence. I like your 10 in intelligence for DeBoer. He's that guy, isn't he? He just comes across as one of the most cerebral coaches at every press conference.
I love his press conferences. That's why he got the 10. I'm glad you noticed that. I think, though, he might not be incredibly fun. Put him at a 5 on the fun.
He's a very serious guy. There's an episode of Seinfeld where there was a dating interest that was really attracted to that side of Jerry. She wanted the serious. Jerry tried to play down he was a comedian. Hello, how are you? You're very dark, aren't you? Life, what is the point? But anyway, all right, I got you. All right, so now for first date emphasis, we're in the top 3. The final 3 of Jen's list here. Man, it's a tough list. In number 3, wow. I got to be honest, I thought you'd have a little bit of bias here, but no, number 3 is whom?
Shane Beamer. Go Cox.
Shane Beamer comes in at number 3. Let's go through all his accolades. I see 4 10s here. Wow.
Shane is very personable and very friendly, down to earth. He's got the NRV mentality where he chats with everybody. He's friendly to everybody. Not a lot of attitude. He's a loyal person.
Storytelling 10. He would share the drive 10. Musical.
Well, we have a lot to talk about. The storytelling, we would be like, you went to Blacksburg, I went to Christiansburg, Virginia Tech, USC.
And we're talking about storytelling specifically with you, not like what he and I would talk about and things like that.
Correct. This is all about me. Right?
This is all about you. Gee, shocker.
Did you not understand that?
Yeah. Oh, I understood
Me.
that. Yeah. And hey, I'm a little surprised that I'm in the chat room. If you can't see me, that's your problem. I'm Jim.
I did all that.
I know you did. All right. And I thought, to be honest, I thought this guy would be number one.
I know you did.
But he's number two. As a matter of fact, if somebody would have said lay odds in Vegas, I would have said, well, I know. But go ahead. Who's number two and not number one?
Skinny Lane Kiffin. Maybe thick Lane Kiffin would have been number one, but he wasn't present to be considered.
An 8 in attractiveness, a 10 in fun, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
That guy 10 in storytelling, 7 in drive. You had a higher number or lower number? You marked one out. 10 in music playlist. Oh, yeah. Mississippi, come on. Snacks, a 10. Intelligence, a 10. So number two for Lane. Did that surprise you at the end that he wasn't number one? Or did you dock him that much because he's skinny and shaped Lane now?
He did get docked because of the weight change. I'm going to have to be candid.
He lost too much. I mean, it's one thing. I want you to be healthy, but you're not.
He's doing that thing. I told you, the ribbing out, where he has lost too much weight. That, for those who are not familiar with this is when guys lose too much weight, and then you can see their ribs poking out through their torso. No.
Well, he's kind of low key Bill Belichick, right? He's dating a much younger gal right now, right?
He got back with his wife.
He got back with his wife?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, good for him, I guess. That sounds a little weird. They were just putting pictures out last year, he and the young girl.
Yeah. I think he was divorced. I don't think he was just separated, but he's back with the wife. I think they decided to try to work it out.
Well, good for him. Good for him.
She must like skinny Lane Kiffin. She might be down with it.
Let's see how that works out for you, Lane. All right. And people probably can't even name number one because they're not thinking about this particular school, but a very surprising winner in Jen's first date choice of SEC head football coaches.
It is.
And
Arkansas.
the winner is, I wish I had a drum roll here. Hang on. Wait a minute. Before you say the name, let me say, I think I've got a little, what do I have here? I got some kind of drum. Let's see if this works.
Well, wait a minute. All right. Okay, we're doing it now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, number one is Arkansas's Sam Pittman.
Hey, congratulations, Sam. You're the winner. Wow, what a lucky dude. All right, so tell us why Sam Pittman of Arkansas wins out of the first date choices of SEC football coaches.
Sam is a good guy. He would be fun to talk to. He would ask me about the band and actually be genuinely curious to talk about band. He would be like, JJ, you going to put on that band uniform for me? Let me see that thing. Let me see some pictures of you with your saxophone. He would be all about it.
He would be.
He would be very personable with everybody. Everybody would want to hug him because he is snuggly. He got the S designation.
Yeah. Got the S. 5 10s. Wow. 5 10s.
Sam is not the most attractive coach to me, but
6 with the snuggly connotation.
Yeah, he's okay.
Okay.
But I think he'd be really fun. He'd have good music. I've heard him talk about his interest in music before in various interviews, and he likes a lot of like yacht rock and classic rock.
Yeah. You'd be playing the Little River Band. Things like that.
It would be fun. We'd be singing, and he would take turns driving. He's very like old school gentleman. He would never let me do all the driving. You know, those guys who were like, hey, I'm just going to nap the whole time while you drive. And they're not interacting with you and helping make the road trip fun. He would not be that guy.
No, that's a real no-no for you. Yeah, you don't have any time for that. You don't have time for that. Nobody likes that. Nobody
likes that.
So 65 for Coach Pittman. This is how close it was. Lane Kiffin comes in second at 63. And then there's Shane at 62.5. So your top three within 2.5 points of one another. Wow, it was a close competition.
It was. I spent some time on this.
You did. It's very impressive, actually. Be sure to keep that chart. That should be a picture I should put up. Yeah, I should do that. You sent this to me. I should put that up here. Here's
There are a
Jen's
few little
research.
notes on it, so the people will probably enjoy the notes and the snuggly designation.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Well done. Congratulations. You and that's going to be probably more thorough than when we start talking to you about the game picks each week, which will happen next Friday, which is hard to believe. We're talking about games next Friday.
I know. I can't believe it either. I'm going to leave for Atlanta next Friday.
Oh, here we go. Are you going to be around? Are you going to be available?
Yes.
Okay.
I have planned my life around doing this. And now I have to consider the camera too, and like my mic, and so
yeah. How is the mic? You got the mic up?
I do. I don't know. Can you see
it?
Let's
see it. Yeah, I want to see it. Come on, I got mine. See, you're supposed to have it. Oh my goodness gracious!
Oh gosh, sorry. I hope that didn't make a big loud bang on the air.
No, that's great. I get it. It wasn't a hanger. Okay, I got you. No problem. No, it looks good.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it work in the condo, as you can see. So,
did you buy that color just to kind of match things in the condo?
No, I just thought it was kind of fun. I like fun stuff. So, fun is a consideration.
Well, I know. We just found out on your list right there.
I know. So I just wanted to keep it fun. I didn't want it to be all boring and what everybody else has,
Well, no matter what happens with Arkansas season and Coach Pittman, he's number one on your list. So he's got a nice consolation prize, to say the least.
I'm cheering for him, but I don't think he'll be there next year.
We'll see what happens. It's just so tough in that league. Hey, real quick before I let you go, what do you think about the league going to play 9 games? I think you and I covered that. It made no sense. They never were. Now, obviously, there's reasons why. For reasons beyond money, I think they're positioning themselves. But it makes perfect sense, right?
It does. I don't think that was very surprising. Did you find it surprising?
Not in the slightest. It was dumb. They weren't playing 9 games a couple years ago.
I agree. And for us, I think that means maybe the return of Tennessee or Georgia in our schedule, which I'm kind of happy about. So although it's a tough game, I just think it's fun for the fans. And those are matchups that we always loved and we're sad to see go away.
Correct. Because if Tennessee and Georgia, if South Carolina and Mississippi are playing, more people that are not even related to those programs are going to watch because it's the SEC than they are any other conference. They've got the data to prove it, and that's why they're adding another game. It all makes perfect sense. Just
correct.
The way it is. Yep.
And I just want to tell you, can I show you something really quick? Do we have
absolutely?
Time?
Oh, of course you do.
Hold on.
I don't have any rules anymore. We got time. Come on. We don't have to.
I want to show you this for my show and tell.
All right. So what do you got?
I won my fantasy football league this past season, and we get this trophy. And tomorrow is my live draft in Greenville, South Carolina. But all the names are engraved on it.
Oh, that's a deal. And you won last year.
So I won it. So I'm very proud because there's a bunch of Clemson dudes who are in it.
You should be proud. Is that how many years have you won? Is that the first year, or have you won it before?
That's the first year I've won. I've only been in this league 3 years, I think. So one of my Christiansburg friends that I graduated with is a Clemson grad, and he's the commissioner of the league and invited me to be in it when someone left. So
very cool.
It was very rewarding to beat all the Clemson fans.
Well, I'll tell you what, I really appreciate how you're that's going out right there. That's impressive. Now that's a trophy. That's awesome. That's your own Lombardi. It is a trophy.
And I'm going to take it to the draft tomorrow and put it on the table right in front of me.
Of course you are. Yeah, here you go. The constituent from the defending champs is here. Boom.
My team name for this one, you didn't like it, but it's He Hate Me, which I think is hilarious, but you don't.
Yeah, I didn't like that. Yeah, I didn't like that.
But it's old school. And it's appropriate because all the Clemson people hate me and I'm the chick in the league and
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess that makes sense considering the situation. Yeah. I thought it would have something to do with the Gamecocks. I thought it would have something to do with the Redskins. I thought maybe Rigo's name would be used. John, that's what I thought your fantasy team.
Well,
for me, I thought your fantasy team name would be like, what was it? Rigo's Army back in the day. They had Franco Harris's Army. Then he had his own, the Hogs or something like that. Hey, if you want to go, He Hate Me, that's fine. You're the champion.
We won everything. We won this. He Hate Me won it. So I think it's fine.
You've got branding now, so you're good. You're good.
Number one.
I
finally get to do this in some sport other than women's basketball.
That's right. That's right. Well, great stuff. Great job with the list. That was awesome. That was awesome. We'll see if we can get the picture posted a little bit later. And I hope you're traveling this weekend. You're jumping on a plane probably in an hour somewhere, going to Bermuda, something like that.
I'm going to Greenville tomorrow for the draft. And then from
go.
Greenville, I'm flying to Orlando for 2 days. And then I'm going to see my cousin, Howard.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I'm flying back, and I'll be in Columbia through Friday when I leave for the Hokie Gamecock matchup.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to be a big week for you. Big week.
It is.
Absolutely.
And I'm already kind of anxious about the game and excited, and I just don't know how it's going to turn out. So
I know. First time that Shane's been in a position of favorite. Changes things a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Gamecocks typically aren't great when we're favored. All the fans, we have a little bit of PTSD from being favored in games that we have just really choked. So
I know.
We'll see. I want us to win, obviously, and I'm going to try to stay optimistic about it.
Yeah, well, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun season. It's going to be great to actually have you on for a year now. And I mean, this series is going to be, and I hope South Carolina gets off to a good start in the league, because it's going to be nice to watch you from week to week change from being the massive underdog to now being the team, if it ends up being that way. It's going to be cool to see your transformation.
That is very sweet of you. I'm pleasantly surprised at the optimism from you too. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And thank you for looking. And thank you for looking at my my first my article there. I appreciate your critique of that. So
it was great. When is it going to run?
Today.
Oh, okay.
I found out today. I wasn't sure. People were asking, and it comes out today. So I did not know until a little while ago. So thank you, Rodney, for letting me know. I can't keep up with all that. So
you're a multi-talented journalist. Doing the print, the broadcast, you do it all.
I was asked very nicely. I'm like, well, it doesn't mean it's going to be any good. I said, yeah, I'll give it a shot. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But anyway.
Well, if I may say, I like the angle you took, because I think a lot of people think about coaches' legacies in terms of players only, and they don't think about the interactions they have with all the other supporting casts, the people interviewing them and their staff, and all those other relationships are so important too. And it's a beautiful insider view of your life and his life too.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I hope you have a great weekend. Safe travels as always. And we're picking games next week. Please, though, send me a reminder midweek.
I will, because I got to prepare. I've got to do it. So
send me a reminder. I don't ever mean to forget. Just know that it just happens. So
it's okay. Let's stay together. Al Green, our song. Let's stay together.
Absolutely. That's her. All right, my girl. Good job with the list. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Go Cock.
Right, have a great weekend. There you go. That's Jen, the Gamecock Girl, fantasy football champion. That was cool. All right, we are done for week number 2. Again, I can't thank you enough, all the people who are watching the videos. Please subscribe and like. It's free. Tell your friends, your family, your neighbors. We need to get the subscriber base up, but really couldn't ask for a better start after 2 weeks. I want to thank all of our sponsorship partners once again. Family Fencing for our studios. I want to thank McClellan Chiropractic for the chat room. We want to thank Ryan Fry, the attorney, for our fan question of the week. Little River Heating and Air. And special thanks, obviously, to Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment for being our presenting sponsor of the program. But thank you. The chat room has been popping. The text line today, I just counted like 52 different messages come in. I mean, that's awesome. Hey, sponsors, text line doesn't have one. But thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy week 0. We'll be looking at some of these games on Monday. That's right. College football is here. Everybody take care. Thank you. We'll talk to you next week. Week 3, we'll get you updated on the guest list. Some things are happening there next week as well. Goodbye, everybody.